practically every one of the top 40 records being played on every radio station in the United States is a communication to the children to take a trip, to cop out, to groove. The psychedelic jackets on the record albums have their own hidden symbols and messages, as well as all the lyrics of all the pop rock songs. And they all sing the same refrain. It's fun.
This is a special request. We don't want you to smoke genetically modified ganja. We want you to smoke the real thing. We want you to smoke the natural herb. Some call it marijuana, some call it sensimedia, some call it lamb's bread, and some people call it ganja.
Welcome to the Adam Dunn Show. I am your host, Adam Dunn. I got Bike over here on my left. I guess it's your right.
I'm here.
We got a few other. We got Mike. We got Mitch Shanasa coming in also. So I'm going to be rolling deep on sidekicks here. Don't know. You might not even get to hear me today. It could be one of those days.
Right on.
No, that's not going to be one of those days. Can't do that. Can't do that. Love to hear myself talk. Right.
Good. Keeps it interesting.
Thank God. We are going to be going over some news. Oh, I've also got Jedder in from the Bong-A-Thon. We're going to talk about that. The oldest. That's the oldest. Cannabis sort of event out there that's still running these days. I mean, obviously
41 this year?
Now 31, I think.
31.
Had a 10-year high.
Okay.
It had a 10-year. It would have been 41 exactly.
That's okay. That's what I was confused on. But yeah, it's an old ass event.
Yeah, and it's it's also cool that it was such an underground event for so long, and then of course technology caught up with the stoners, and now all of a sudden it's a Facebook event, and it's got the it turned into now a little less exciting as it was.
Like anything happens as time, but it's still.
It's a cool event.
A lot of people want to go.
It's a cool event. We went last year. I won in the it was a doubles competition or the group competition with me and Pony Boy.
Competition.
What was it? Oh, was it announced? Oh yeah, I don't even know what I won.
Smoking an ounce?
Yeah, fastest crew to smoke an ounce.
How long did you do it?
Like 7 minutes. I think it was like 7 minutes or something.
Damn. Just two of you?
It was four of us.
Okay.
4 of us, but it's the thing about a hookah is you really can't all smoke at the same time. That's one of the things you have to teach. So it was kind of like working a crew on a boat or something. So it was like, hold it, suck it, hold it, suck it. So you suck it every time. Suck it.
That works out to about a gram a minute.
Yeah, we were cranking them out there.
Per person, rather.
Yeah, exactly. About a gram per minute per person. You were right behind me, weren't you there? I had the torches, though. No one else is smart enough. I'm like, I was like, you can't smoke an ounce with a regular Bic lighter and against me and a torch.
Oh, everyone else had lighters and you had a torch?
Yeah.
That sounds fair.
That's totally fair. In my world, that is a completely fair
flame
thing.
coming out of it?
No rules. Yeah.
So that is fair, sure.
Yeah. I could have just, incinerated it with, even 20 torches at once.
How close was the closest lighter team?
They were pretty far behind, actually. Amazing.
And you can't tell me in terms of close. You have to put it in terms of far behind. That's good enough.
Yeah, they were not even close. But no, it was pretty awesome. It's like last minute thing. I didn't realize I was going to be in the competition. And I didn't win anything either. I'm going to talk to Jed about that. I should get something.
Sweet. Come on.
Everyone else got these beautiful bongs, and I was like, man, what? I don't get nothing.
You're the only person not to get anything?
No, me and Pony Boy both. I mean, because we were the celebrities.
I was going to say.
Celebrities don't, we don't deserve anything.
Right, it's just for charity.
Yeah, totally.
Like when you used to see celebrities on Wheel of Fortune or Hollywood Squares or playing for charity.
Sure. Now those same people probably need that charity themselves.
Yes, right.
Amazingly enough. They were like, damn, I wish I could get back on that Wheel of Fortune
what
just
was
for
I
myself
thinking?
right now,
I wish I could have that quarter to sell.
Yeah. So let's see. We're gonna have we have a little bit of let's go over the news we remember. How's that? Because sometimes if you sit there and look up stuff,
you forget stuff that you remember.
Whatever. Let's see what was relevant out there this week. What was the relevance in your opinion? What was the biggest story out there this week?
The biggest story I remember hearing.
Oof, this is the hard part.
Did we talk about hemp last time, or did that happen in between?
Well, the hemp's already. I mean, it's going down. That
was March 1st.
March 1st, yeah. So this would be the show of the second round. As actually, my friends were the first ones to apply for their license. A friend of mine, Bill Althouse, he works with a with a tissue culture lab here, the biggest tissue culture lab in Colorado, and they were the first people to get their hemp license. So that's an interesting twist of technology versus old school sort of mentality, you know, because these people they see what's coming up. And if you can do things with tissue culture, that means you can get some really exact numbers and kind of where we need to go almost. So it could be the future because we don't have enough seed at this point.
And you can get a lot of plants from tissue culture as opposed to seed, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, you don't get seed. What you do is you get like little startlets, basically little plantlets. And they, you know, apparently between now and May 20th, they're trying to produce about 20,000 to start with from a single source. And then the idea would be, you know, by the end of the season, millions being produced because once it gets going, it gets going.
Those thousands that they want to get, 20,000 or what you said?
Yeah, that would just literally be from a single source.
So how similar will all those plants be to the one it came from?
It'd be exact.
Okay.
It would be, not only will it be exact, they will be scrubbed of any viruses. They are cleaned down to the cell.
No genetic shifting, is it?
No. What he really does is it's interesting because mold, for instance, is very, very capable of getting into the most minute crack of anything and just embedding itself there and then coming out later when the conditions are right, you know? So this actually gets down to because you're going down to literally to the molecules almost, and you're scrubbing these things and cleaning them up. They come out completely virus-free. So, for instance, if you had powdery mildew issues or if you had any of those kind of things,
they're gone.
They can be gone. They can taken out because basically what it is almost like a process that's so harsh to get to I mean, you're literally breaking it down to almost, you know, down to its cellular level and
that's the only thing that's going to survive when they clean like that?
And bringing it back. Yeah, well, they can. I mean, they have ways of getting in from each side. And he said it's really, really complicated because a lot of times people just don't get it. And they think it's just going to, you know, it's going to, that's where they end up having huge problems because they'll end up getting it to a certain point. They'll start to callus up a little bit and then they won't go any further. So because it's almost like that movie, Altered States. You remember that movie?
No,
it's an old movie. But basically, in that movie, this guy goes through a mega metamorphosis, you know, and his whole body changes and stuff. And it's similar to that because it's like one of those things where you've gone through every single process. It's like being reborn almost. And so by doing that, you cleaned up everything that was there.
Sure, so, that's cool.
Yep. So it could be interesting. So that whole tissue culture thing, because the idea there is that, you know, you get a really good example, you know, that has the CBD profile we're looking for medicine, and it has a good fiber profile. Good, you know, it's great seed. You know, find that ultimate plant and then just
multiply it. Yeah,
multiply that one. And because the thing is, we are going to be like fast into a situation where we're going to be short of seed every time. Because, you know, like I talked to somebody yesterday who was talking 75,000 acres down south. You know. 75,000 acres will take you about 2.5 million pounds of seeds to grow that, you know, and that's 150 tractor trailer trucks filled with seeds.
And that's good for one.
That's one farm.
Yeah.
So imagine, you know, we're trying to maintain these farms. That's going to be nuts. And we have to fly these seeds right now from Europe. So 150 tractor trailer trucks flown in from Europe is a hell of a lot of money.
Sure,
man.
that's like heavy.
That's like the biggest rock concert ever. You know what I mean?
Sure, on tour again.
Yeah, we've got, you know, whatever. And we're Lady Gaga. We've got 150 tractor trailer trucks, $1 billion show, you know, whatever. But this is literally
just for seed.
Just for seed, just to get some seed over here, which we can grow over here, which we don't even need to bring from over there. So,
right.
So I hope that the home market of seeds here becomes the most important. That's really what we need to turn Colorado into. Is like, you know, they had the breadbasket for all the. We need to be like the seed basket.
Sure.
You know, just be the seed source of America. Let us, you know, spread our seeds out, and I think that puts us in a good position because. I mean, there's other states that are even more ag-minded. Let's say Nebraska, places like that there's nothing but ag. You know, so of course those states will definitely jump on board fast and probably take lead on production side. So I don't think we'll ever be as big of a producer as some states like that because they already
even with the weather up there.
Well, I mean, they have some crazy weather, but
there is hemp up there. We know. I mean,
yeah,
we've seen it.
It's where it all grew. I mean,
sure.
So I think it wouldn't be a problem. But the thing is, they're more gonna be the producers, you know, and we just need to be producing the seed so that Colorado sort of stays in the lead of the whole thing. That's my intention because I think if we don't, you know, obviously we're gonna do some farming here, but I don't think we should think that we're gonna be the source of all the hemp in America. all these other states around us are the sources because they
Sure.
have even lower populations than we have. I mean, we're a pretty low population, but even lower,
More space.
with even more ag land and even more families that have like 6 generations deep, more even, and that's all they've been doing. So for them, it's just another commodity to work with. It's not like going to be a big learning curve. It will be a learning curve, but hopefully we can do that for them. We can take the brunt of the hard style, deal with it, but at the same time produce seed and just keep producing seed. So that's my intentions.
It's interesting and awesome at the same time.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's all like going on right here around us.
It's pretty mind-boggling when you're thinking about the time, how long we've waited for this.
Sure.
But then it's also like how fast it's going. It's like, wow. And same with the medical marijuana, same with the recreational. I mean, 5 years ago, none of us probably would have thought recreational would even be existing.
I agree.
That would have just been like, medical, yes, we already accepted it. But we were already still at that time talking about, well, if it ever gets over 20 states, we're really going to be. And now we are, you know what I mean? Now it's like it's already past that. Like I mean, they haven't all enacted it, but there's over 20 states
talking about it. Sure.
Yeah, at least talking about it, and pretty much I think with the CBD situation and the kids, because that's also like major news all over America. Did you watch the Sanjay?
No, I didn't. I heard all about it though.
Wow, nobody watched it. You watched it? Oh, great. So we got the Mr. Talkative, Chris Rosales, is going to tell us all about it. Was it good? Positive?
Yeah.
Still?
Yeah.
Only about kids and CBDs or all about other stuff too? Mic up.
No, it was good. I liked it. I just seen the last 30 minutes of it.
Yeah, and I mean, because it's CNN, so you know that they have to do it like an MTV story where it's like, here's the good, but then look at this one guy, and then you're like, oh, okay. So
For the haters.
Yeah, it's almost like the teen mom shows and all those stupid things. It's like they just show like, oh look, she's so happy with her kid, and then the next shot is like the husband or boyfriend or whatever being a douche. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, okay, I guess that's what it's all about. But
It's never all good.
no, you can't show only good and too positive. But in general, it is interesting to see like all these news crews that are running around here. I had actually somebody from ABC yesterday, 2020, come by, and it's just like they're trying so hard, but they don't know what they're really looking for.
Exactly.
And that was the first thing this report. I asked her, well, what's your angle? Because of course you don't want to know if they're positive or negative. They're trying to find here. She couldn't answer, and I was like, that makes it even more confusing because you're like, so you don't know what your story is about. I told her that I think if you want to, now that the Sanjay thing came out, why don't you go after, now that the kids are covered, let's go after the senior citizens next. Let's work on them because they're the ones who stand to gain the most from legalization because most of them are on lots of prescription pills.
Yep.
Tons of medication. They don't maybe have the greatest appetite. They're, there's like their skin's getting thin. They're having blood problems. There's all these issues that could be addressed with cannabis. So it would be interesting to see if we could have them be embraced into this culture. Then you'd have the old people embraced, the kids embraced.
The kids are easy to convince.
Yeah, well, kids are always easy. That's the easiest ones.
Yeah, it's going to be an argument, a tough sell for that older generation.
It is going to be
for
tough
the most
sell,
of it, at least.
Yeah, but what you will find is that now, I mean, really the big hang-up has always been the legal aspect. It's not the physical, because if any of those people had paid attention in their entirely long lives, they probably would have noticed that not a single one of their friends ever went off the deep end from smoking cannabis, and a lot of their friends are alcoholics or ended up with cancer from whatever, and they ended up, so for them to see something that is maybe possibly fights cancer, and oh, wait a minute, this is a bit of I've been lied to for 70 years,
and that's a horrible feeling.
Oh, for sure. And not that I want those people to know that they've been lied to and feel bad about it. I actually want them to feel like, hey,
happy for the benefits.
I want to be able to. Yeah, well, now that I can do this legally, I have there's no recourse now. The only recourse now is that I'm going to feel better. And people are gonna think I'm cooler. That's pretty much
sure. Yeah.
You come over to your friend's house and there's their grandma puffing away, and you're like, "Yeah, grandma, go. You go, girl."
That's happened.
Oh, it happens all the time. But I mean, now it's gonna happen to people you would never expect it. You're gonna go over to somebody's house and go, "What?" Well, yeah, it's her right. I mean, she's 70 plus or 80 years old or whatever.
Some time to make up for.
Let's let her enjoy her times, and that's kind of. So that was my angle to her. It wasn't exciting enough, I think. I mean, it wasn't, there wasn't it's like, really, old people? That sounds not so exciting, And I was like, but yeah, I think it would be, because notice how the kid situation has changed everybody's opinion. Like without that, I don't think we'd be as far as we are right now. And we have a lot more to go because, you know, we were only at that scratching the surface of this whole thing. And so technically within, say, 5 years from now, it should be standard. And when something is like that is standard, then I think it takes away the whole stigma. And I give it 10 more years, and then we're like, what were we even thinking? I mean, now everyone's going to laugh at the mentality that
Concept.
we're running. Yeah.
What do you think about this CBD-only legislation that's going
Terrible
on down
idea.
in Georgia right now?
Terrible idea.
I agree.
Yeah, and that should be knocked down fast because the thing is, it's this is like people who wouldn't believe us before are now going to use science against us. I mean, come on now. We have been doing this already, and we're not doing this because someone's telling us we're doing this. We're doing this because we know,
Yeah.
and we've all tested it, whether on ourselves. The kids have been doing it. Other people. We have been deep in this, and there's no one's going to come in and try to prove us with science that they know what they're talking about because
we know.
Technically they're wrong, and we know that, and we have enough proof about it. And also are we again like trying to import RSO from China?
Right.
Why would we want to do that when we can and now we have the right to grow it here, first of all, for hemp, but cannabis is also possible, and that's the real source. I mean, it's the source. It's the whole thing about CBDs and THC is that they work synergetically together. They have some sort of thing. And this is something I've known for a long time because Rob Clark, who wrote Marijuana Botany and Hashish, and now this new cannabis ethnobotany book, he had access to CBD, pure THC, and all these things 20 years ago, you know, like way before any of us would ever imagine. And it was mind-boggling because he would be like, yeah, this is pure CBD. And he'd show me some little white powder, and I'd be like, that's weird. And this is pure THC. And we would smoke them both on vape, like kind of like a vaporizer. We just hit it with a lighter and kind of hit it above and let it kind of cook off. And the THC on its own didn't work. And the CBDs on their own didn't work. But when you mix them together, they worked. So that was the test. And that was like, I wouldn't say 20 years ago, but close to it. That was about 18 years ago. And, you know, so that told me right then and there that these things need to be together. That's why they're there. And so the combinations are what's interesting. So when you plant a seed, it's like rolling a dice. You got 6 dice in your hand. You're rolling them every time. When you hit the fucking number, bam, 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 that's just 1 out of every 200,000 rolls. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just, you know, that's the way it is. And so people don't get that, and they think they're gonna, there's this new strain out there, I'm gonna find it. It's like, just go grow some seeds, man. You'll find it. You just have to grow enough seeds, and that's how
It's in there.
It's all in there. You know, nobody. I tell this to everybody. I'm like, what do you think Sour Diesel was? A clone that just grew on its own? Do you think that OG Kush was a clone out of the sky that came out? No, these were all seeds that like grew, and somebody grew them and selected them, and then luckily, otherwise we wouldn't have those.
Sure.
We'd all be sitting here smoking some urban poison or something,
or something else, or someone else,
or some Mexi.
Yeah.
I was offered Mexican weed yesterday.
Mexican weed? No, what do you mean when you say Mexican weed?
I mean brick weed, Mexican weed.
Oh, some brick
somebody
weed.
asked me, and I was like,
Not some like Mexican sativa where skunk one came.
Well, no, it was actually really good, supposedly. I didn't see it or nothing, but it was just interesting to hear. I was like, wow, I haven't heard that in so long.
What was the price? Did you get a price?
$800
for a pound?
Yeah.
That's probably about what it was not too long ago.
No, and it's funny. I nailed it. I just was like, "What is it, about $800?" Yeah, it's like,
Or it wasn't like, I'll take 800 for it. Or?
Yeah, no. Like I said, I didn't get to see it. It was just something that was out there someone was talking about it, and I was like, "Really? Do people still?" Yeah, and I guess apparently they do.
If they're coming to you with it, then the market is slow.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. So I was just like, wow, I guess there is people slanging Mexi out there still. But obviously there are. There's still truckloads rolling in. Got to go somewhere.
Sure.
All over Texas, I guess, right? Isn't that like?
Oh, I mean, there's definitely still markets. It's usually an inner city thing where the Mexican brickweed goes.
Yeah, I think and actually it was funny for instance, in Europe. The brickweed would be like Jamaican that would come up, and it would be gobbled up so fast in the UK, and they would sell it at like 6,000 a kilo, which is pounds too. So that's like about $7,000 So it's like $3,500 a pound
for some lamb's bread.
Yeah, it was decent Jamaican, but it was also like so hard, and so they would use a bandsaw to cut it up. They didn't even like try to break it up.
I remember stuff like that.
And just drop them into little squares and drop them in a thing. And it was like, wow, then there you go. I guess
the person who got it needs a hammer and a flathead screwdriver to break it open.
Yeah, so that's kind of always a funny one where you're, but then again, I mean, I bet. Because we've been smoking so much chronic lately that we probably would get really high off that Mexican.
That's happened to me before. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I bet we'd be like, damn.
We don't tickle those parts of our brains as much anymore.
We forgot about these ones, I think it's also because of because there's been some pretty damn strong brickweed over the years. I mean, that's never been. Have
you ever gotten higher off brickweed than you have off some really?
Well, I got higher one time off some New York. I was in New York. I bought some weed one time, but I'm pretty sure it was shermed out or something.
Sure.
Yeah, I was like, I'm too high. This doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Everything was discombobulated. I was like, I don't know. I was really young too, so I was kind of like super weed. I don't know. I didn't know what to call it, but it was probably sherm. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, interesting to see how that industry, even though it's the biggest money maker for the cartels, all that bullshit along the way, and you're like, really? Like, I just don't see it. But I guess now because we're always surrounded by good weed,
they all go around us.
Yeah, I don't. And okay, let's see. News-wise, I have also another one. How about this article that came out in the Denver Post about all the edibles? That was an interesting one. Interesting, wasn't it? Wasn't so interesting because the fact that our radar was on. We kind of were.
Well, I kind of knew.
We kind of knew. We knew certain companies were definitely not putting it in there, and we definitely knew other companies were. Mm-hmm. But the crazy part is that it's not like anybody. It's like nobody passed that test. You know that every single person failed.
It was on point.
Huh?
Nobody would have the exact.
No, but when one says 101 milligrams, I mean, come on.
That's good enough for me.
They have to have a flexibility. They're talking about not being flexible, even if it's 1.1 over. It's too much.
Is that what they're saying?
Yeah. And I'm like,
wait, is that the Post saying that?
No, that's what the MED is.
Wow,
and that's not going to happen. I mean, you're talking about.
They think we're magic or something.
I know. You're talking about food variables, and not only that, but it's like what you're going to do is you're going to make everybody underdose everything now because you definitely don't want to waste money.
All right.
Why waste money and lose your, I just put double dosed and now I have to get rid of it and destroy it or something. That's like, to me, that doesn't make any sense. So really, I think they're going to have to come up with a much better policy than just being so critical because we're dealing with stuff that's variable on every crop and on every run and on every bake. I mean, you bake
here,
something.
It's hard to get the same strain for 2 batches in a row.
Yeah, and also a lot of people, they're not relying on, they're buying in. So how are they ever going to maintain it? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that was kind of interesting. I think, speaking of which, we have a new sponsor. Incredibles is now a sponsor here on the show. Thank you, guys. We have officially partnered up after all these years. We've been talking to them for a long time about it, but I think now they've decided that maybe my show's worth it. We actually have like 7 listeners, I think, so that's so we're good. Big Mike, you're in there. No, and but it was awesome to see that they're moving. They're actually stepping their game up big time. They're getting their own gardens. They're doing. I mean, and they're following the protocol that you need to as a company if you really want to control your dosages. You need to grow your own. That's how it works. So I'm very proud of them to be stepping it up. We're going to see a lot of cool products coming from them. I mean, they always have stellar stuff.
Delicious.
And one of the things about this whole edible game is like it's a hard one. I mean, I have to tell anybody out there who thinks it's easy, you're wrong. It's a really, really, really hard game. It's only getting harder with the rules they're trying to imply on it, everybody too. But to make a good quality food product, you first have to have a good quality oil product, and then you have to, it's a multi-step. It's not just like everybody thinks it's so easy. And there's companies out there that are just literally buying stuff off the shelf and injecting it and doing all this stuff that doesn't. All that to me, forget about it. You really want to, if you're going to work with anybody or eat any edibles from anybody, you really want people that understand what they're doing. They're actually making the product themselves. They're not just adulterating something. I don't think that's
reading a recipe.
I don't even think that's legal, to be quite honest. It is, and somehow it is in this industry. I don't know how, but it is
morally illegal.
It's definitely morally illegal. So, congratulations, Incredibles, for actually being way over the top. So now everyone's running to buy your stuff because they're like, whoa, it's over the top, But at the same time, we would love it if you guys go out there and support Incredibles, and they're going to be representing at our spot also. So we have for the 420 time, which we need to talk about also, which is coming up pretty soon too. It's only 5 weeks away from Mayhem in this town, so it's about to get nuts.
How did that get here so fast?
It did. I know it snuck up on us. I think it's going to be this is going to be the most epic year ever because every year is obviously in our minds, but this obviously we legalized cannabis. There you go. That's about as big as it gets. And on top of that, we're like now becoming the epicenter, or the new epicenter of the cannabis universe is what I always call it. And it's becoming like now there's nowhere better than Denver right now in the world for cannabis, I believe. I mean, of course, Uruguay at $1 an ounce sounds great, but...
Well, for you to say that in my eyes, it makes it official.
Oh, it's official. It's official, as always. I actually announced it last year at the Cannabis Cup, and I'm going to re-announce it this year. And coincidentally enough, I dressed up like the Pope last year, announced it, and said that this is the new spot. And then, coincidentally, what happened? Easter is now 420.
Go figure.
Imagine that. So I feel like I have to pull my Pope suit. I have to pull my Pope suit out again. I mean, it's Easter. You're gonna have to do it, right? So I think that I will be one of many popes out there.
Where did you do that? I missed that. I don't want to miss it.
Oh, that was in Amsterdam. That was in
Amsterdam? Okay,
yeah.
I
So
thought
I was
you were
there
here.
officially
Okay.
telling everybody there that, hey guys, party's over. Come on over to Denver because, and it really is. I mean, that's there's no lies there. You know what I mean?
Party's over though, so that's harsh.
Oh yeah, party's over. Sorry, I know it's the worst feeling, isn't it?
Sure, it's
like the lights
came on.
That's the worst. Yeah, that is absolutely one of the.
You're standing there by yourself. You didn't find a girl to take home. The party's over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. And then you get to see her. That's the worst part. Yeah, the lights come on. You maybe don't take her home anymore.
Sure.
You're like, whoa, what was I thinking there?
She's going to Denver.
Yeah. Welcome.
What's happening, Adam?
Norm.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Introduce yourself there.
My name is Norm Hartman, part of the Bong-A-Thon committee.
Is everyone else showing up in a minute? Or?
Yeah, Jed will be here in just a few minutes.
I figured so. Nice. So yeah, we announced earlier we're gonna have the Bong-A-Thon crew in here and give everybody a little taste of what's on the horizon. The longest cannabis event running, which is awesome. So I mean, history being made in this state before it was ever made. You guys have picked the right state to be in for a long time. So that was a good one. And, nice to see how everything... I remember my friend Tony from Sagar Mother Seeds. He always had a Bong-A-Thon t-shirt back in the day, and this was in Amsterdam in like 93.
Right. You had to know somebody to...
And that was when it was really... Yeah, that's when it was really underground.
Yep.
And it was pretty awesome to see like the same graphics are being used. It's the same dude. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's good. I like that. Consistency is really important. You know what I mean? You keep the same mascot going and the same vibe. And I went last year. It was awesome, and it still has the underground thing. I mean, even though we're, like I was saying earlier, even though we're in the Facebook world and like it's not as exclusive because everyone kind of knows it's out there, they figured it out 40 years later.
Right. And so, Jetter's trying to keep it kind of the same vibe and everything, but we want to still make it exclusive. Yeah. So we're trying to do a couple things that'll still make it exclusive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just the location alone, it makes it exclusive.
Yeah.
You're not just rolling in there like by chance. Like, hey, what's going on over
you
here?
You had to plan that out.
It was pretty awesome. The terrain there is crazy. It looks like you're on the moon.
Jetter's got a lot of details that when he gets here, he'll break out.
Nice. Yeah, but we really enjoyed it last year. It was like one of those. I told everybody from my crew that we're definitely all going this year, and we're all representing because I was like, man, we got those guys. Don't you worry. My crew's got them. We're gonna crush. So yeah, no, I'm ready to come this year and represent hard for Hood Lab. So man,
I've been in the gym every day now for 7 weeks.
See, that's the way I do. I'm like the opposite. I'm like, we don't need
on the couch.
I don't need nothing. I don't need anything. Just don't smoke cigarettes. That's the most important thing. If you don't smoke cigarettes, you can win those competitions all day long. You know, it's like that's pretty much you can tell. Like when somebody's an old timer, they watch someone take a gigantic hit. That's the first thing they say is, "Guess you don't smoke cigarettes, do you?" You're like, "Yep, I don't."
Yeah. I quit smoking cigarettes for when me and Jetter brought the Bong-A-Thon back just so I could win one of the trophies.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good idea.
3 trophies out of the 4 years.
Right. And your health is much better. So you're a winner. Yeah, all-around winner on that one, I would say. That's cool. Yeah, no, it's been it's been a long trip for you guys, I guess, and there's been a few crazinesses there. I mean, there was a hiatus for a while, rebirth of the whole thing. So
that was a legend. Right when I first moved here, and meet people that smoke weed, they say you hear Bong-A-Thon. We were there at the raid.
Yeah, the Bust-A-Thon is what they
Bust-A-Thon, yeah.
But back in the day, really, me and Jetter, like when Jetter first started the party, it was a rumor. Mm-hmm. Supposedly,
right?
And you had to know somebody to get tickets.
You told me stories about after the raid and going to the porta potty and
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. You told me that one too.
Yeah.
More. Yeah, that would have been that was the golden porta potty to find right there, wasn't it?
Oh, every one of them was like that, but
Yeah, kind of gross, but somebody's got to do it, right?
There was so much shit on the ground. I mean,
no, it
was just everywhere.
I was at the Cannabis Cup raid. It was similar to that. It was like, all of a sudden we were at the Cup and there's 100 cops in the room. And everybody just it was funny too because half the people just dropped their stuff and panicked, you know what I mean? And I was like, hey, what are you talking about? We're not panicking. And I had 2 ounces on me and they were like, you cannot leave the building with anything. And I was like, okay, well, we can smoke it, right? Let's do it. Let's just start smoking. And we just pounded through it, rolled it all up, It was pretty fun. It was turned into that was actually the most excitement of the whole Cup because instead of getting busted, we're just having a power sesh now. And it was we just flipped over the trash can and got out the big grinders and started grinding away.
I saw pictures of that.
You got the video of that.
The cops even looked high. They looked
You never
stoned.
seen that? Who's twisting, bro? Never seen that? Oh, anyway. It's just me grinding weed, and the giant grinder and everybody rolling as fast as they can roll, rolling terrible joints, just anything that smokes. That was pretty funny. It was definitely one of the highlights of that year.
We allowed to burn in here?
Yes.
I need a bomb, man.
I got here late, so we just kind of set up bad. We kind of came in. They got a fake bong on the wall. Simulated bong hits.
Right.
Virtual bong hits. But I've got my guy coming in a minute with some rigs and stuff, so we'll be okay. But Jetter should be loaded up, right? I mean, no, he's not prepared. He's not a Boy Scout.
I usually bring my trophy in. My trophy's down at the 710 Social Club right now.
Oh, there you go. Which
is on the down low.
Oh, wait. Shh. Don't tell. Oh, shit. We're on the radio.
Just us.
We told everybody. Yeah, that's another whole issue, too, which is coming up, which is going to be the big, reality check for Denver because everywhere else is going to be like, well, why are we restricting these clubs just because Denver is? Forget about it. So I'm sure Edgewater will do it. I'm sure the smart places that are out there that are on the fringe.
Club Ned.
Club Ned just opened up. I mean, or going to open up in a few weeks, but they've announced and it's official and it's all sounding good. But I mean,
I'd feel pretty safe.
Does Denver have this head up its ass or what? I mean, come on, guys.
Apparently, they're chasing people down and not letting them have these things, is from what I'm hearing.
Yeah. No, we've already had our event canceled for the Marijuana Madness has been canceled because of that. They bowed down instantly, and I was like, duh. I told them I don't give a shit. Let's do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Fuck those guys because it's it's such bullshit.
What are they gonna do? Take away your liquor permit that you don't have?
Right. Hey, I forgot about that. Yeah, exactly. That's what I told them too. I was like, what permit? I mean, come on now. Everybody just needs to. And then really, if they make us do it, well, which we can have smoke-ins all day, every day, everywhere, and they're just going to not be able to deal with it. You know what I mean? And then they're going to say, well, why are we having all these bullshit people smoking everywhere? Well, that's the whole point. We're not supposed to be smoking everywhere. My idea was to bring around some fencing with black on it and then just walk around and then put the fencing up around us and then just power out inside there and be like, we're following the rules, dude. We're not in public at all. You can't see us unless you look over the top of our thing. I don't know what you're looking over here for.
And this is private property. Get the hell out of here.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
I'm pretty sure I know the event you're talking about because we were going to host his event at our spot. And within 1 hour of us posting that we were going to host that event, 3 Colorado marshals
and
an Aurora police officer walked into our spot, stuck their head in our private bar area, seen our entire bar set up and everything, and the marshal asked my bartender, who's running this thing, and he went and got my buddy. And he said, look, we don't care what you're doing here as long as it's all a private gig. He goes, but don't throw his event here.
Yeah.
And specifically pointed out him.
You're in a different town, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was in Aurora.
They don't like that event or something.
Yeah.
Well, it is, and we all know. But the problem is you can't ever say something is sanctioned if it's not. You know what I mean? That pisses people off. So you can't say, hey, this is...
Damn words.
You just can't... And I even told them from the beginning, I said, listen, I've been throwing events for 20 years, and I've learned quickly that you don't announce things that are going to be grading against what they want to do because you just tell it after it happened. You know what I mean? You say, look, this was the greatest thing ever. And then people want to come to your next thing
time,
without ever having to say what you're going to do. Hey, we're going to be smoking weed. Really? That's totally unnecessary. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it's all about being smart about how you put things out there. You know what I mean? And if you guys have been through it enough, I'm sure, as far as everything's all running smooth, and then one hiccup, somebody, and it's always like the wife of a congressman or something who saw something and she's pissed off. And then
the couple problems that they pointed out about that was that he's giving medical marijuana away.
Yeah, and I never do that. I mean, we've
Right.
never at the lab given away any buds. I mean, we're always about
Right.
like, you can smoke what you have. That's fine. That's normal.
Giving it away to smoke or giving it away?
In the law, it says you cannot give away medical marijuana at all.
Yeah.
And every one of those places donates it for that event.
Exactly, and that's the problem, is that he has the names of the shops that are donating it.
Sure.
Plus, then you just laid it out in front of them, like, here's a map, the treasure map of all. So in the end, I think it's definitely always better to tell everybody how great it was than to tell everybody how great it's going to be.
Right, sure.
Because when
That's
you
a
tell
good
everybody
point.
how great it's going to be, there's no reason to do that. You just do it, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Man, this is great." And once you get a reputation of always holding good events, then everyone knows you're always going to hold a good event. There's no reason you don't have to promise anybody anything. The minute you promise anybody anything, there's always a problem. You know what I mean? Because A, if it doesn't work out, it's your fault. B, you tell everybody what you're doing, then where's the surprise left? You know what I mean? To me, the surprise is in just showing up, and all of a sudden it happens, and you're like, "This is an awesome event," And that's so. We're obviously on the event section because of the Bong-A-Thon coming into the room, so we wanted to get and at the same time, it seems to be a hot subject here in Colorado right now, since they've forgotten the fact that now that we have these giant factories growing this plant, and then we have a whole industry to distribute this plant, we don't have a system for people to socialize and hang out and enjoy this plant. This is kind of weird. It's like the weirdest. Whereas in Amsterdam, where I lived for 20 years, they don't have a system for the factory. They don't have a system for the distribution that makes any sense beyond that they get their tax money. And there's 1,000 places to go smoke cannabis. You know what I mean? And that's where they make all their money. And that's how people don't. I'm like, don't you get the tourism part of it all? And the fact that cannabis tourists are the most easygoing people you ever dealt with. You know what I mean? They're not. They might leave their bag behind or forget something, but that's about it. There's not like.
I'll do what you ask.
Yeah, the most passive, easy to deal with people in the world. So that's kind of like where, and I think that's where the police also, they understand that too. I've had them at my place always for noise. That's always the situation. It's always a noise complaint. And to be quite honest, I mean, they're like, they'll walk right past everybody smoking, whatever. They don't care. Could you please turn that down? And that's it. That's really what they care about. And that's the way it should be. It should be like, you don't hurt me, I don't hurt you. That's how I look at it.
Or it's more like we're going to come in, we're going to flex a little bit, and you're going to make us feel good about ourselves, and we're going to leave.
Yeah, and we know we don't have to even we don't even have to unsnap one thing on our belt because we're not going. There's not going to be one
Pen is staying in the pocket and everything.
Exactly. And the funny part too is that every time they've been in my place, no panic. You know what I mean? Like usually when police are around and there's weed people around, it's like nothing. I mean, it was like we were at a costume party or something, and people, look, there's some guys dressed like cops.
Yeah.
I was like, no, those are actual cops. Really? Oh, wow, jeez. Like people were like not feeling it, and then even then it was like, okay, whatever. And then they were like, and actually that was really cool. Like during last year's 420, they came in at 12:18 to complain about noise, and let me go till 12:45, just because they saw that we had such a good crowd and such good people, and it was like. Let it go another 15. I was like, that's pretty cool for cops to let me go another half hour almost on a past midnight on a Saturday
Good
night.
vibes.
Good vibes, yeah. So that's what we like to hear. So, Jedder, what's going on over there?
How you guys doing today?
We're doing great. Glad to get you guys could show up. We missed you the last time, but that was okay. We had so many guests on that show. It would have been like, you would have literally been standing in line. It was crazy.
I was a little upset because I wanted to chat with Vivian. So if I'd gotten the message earlier, I definitely would have been here. So we
Cool.
apologize for that, certainly.
That's no problem.
So the event thing, I got all kinds of I'm all over the page on this thing, because it's kind of weird, because First Fridays clearly open, there's open consumption, say Illusions, we
Sure.
come down to Hood Lab. There's
But hasn't that not been going on?
Well,
Hood Lab?
it has been going on, and that's the thing. The question is starting to become what are these events, and where can you legally smoke pot privately, quote unquote? And as we trip down the line, it keeps getting more and more blurred. And I think the thing is look, if anything, it's just what the community has always done, which is blurred the lines, okay? And, the gray areas are so gray now, it's hard to define, say, what is an event open to the public, what is a private event that is not open to the public, what is, say, dude running a head shop that allows somebody to come into his back private office and smoke a joint or do a dab or Earl, or a clothing store for that matter, you know what I mean? And so the thing is like, do any of these have any grounds? And I think honestly, when the cops harass like they have been doing, and maybe AJ's example is a little bit on edge with the whole medical experience and all, and maybe if AJ just went straight recreational, he might not have the issues he's having now, but
which wasn't an option before. So I guess now he has to maybe make the decision on the option and try to go.
And it's kind of weird because if you look at the enforcement or whatever, like they've never had an issue with AJ doing his thing up until recently. Yeah, and
they never had any issues at any of his gigs either. And that's the thing too. It's like that's the one thing that I always wonder is like how do they justify that bunch of people smoking weed is any worse in any way, shape, or form than the 3 million bars that are here in Colorado.
Well,
I mean, there's so many bars on every corner.
And it's no different than Miguel Lopez on the 420 rally. It's not regulated like alcohol. We're not even close to being regulated like alcohol.
No, we're treated still like a third sort of.
We're being regulated like medical marijuana is exactly what we're being regulated. I know because I own a dispensary, so it's all damn same. I mean, nothing's changed.
Nope.
So I think what's happening is, look, in this legalization movement, it's always the same deal, okay? We're trying to legalize this thing, make it mainstream, make it is what it should be, which is regulated like alcohol. So we write everything up, we put it on the table, we vote it in, we get it passed, and then we take whatever gain we get.
Yeah, then they just hand us what
and
we
they
want.
push back. They push back. And so then we got to go fight on every little point of why we should be able to do this like this, why we should be able to do this like that, and it really, until the public as a whole pushes back again and says, well, wait a minute, this was supposed to be regulated like alcohol. It's not regulated like alcohol. Like someone's going to take it to court, someone's going to file a case.
Yeah, there has to be the lightning rods. We like to call those people. We need a few of them. We need about 3 or 4 lightning rods, and then everything will be stuck in the courts for a minute, and then everything goes the way it goes, and then we make a decision. That's kind of the way it has to happen because somebody needs to take that. And I mean, he may be the lightning rod. He just may have indirectly become that one without even knowing it. You know what I mean? Because
that's the thing.
If he wants to do anything, he's going to have to fight it pretty hard.
You become the nail sticking out of the board per se. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you definitely, it's all legal, and I think once it gets into a court and anybody says that you're doing anything illegally, especially by way of the Amendment 64. I mean, if anybody's taken the time to read, it's a 1-page document, and it's got shoulders, man. So I think realistically, like once it's broke down in a court of law, they'll realize that they're overstepping their bounds again. But until that happens,
they'll always do it. I mean,
they'll continue to overstep their bounds.
The other thing that they pointed out on AJ's event was the Clean Air Act.
Yeah.
And they kept pointing out that that's a $10,000 fine.
Right.
And, so I've been doing some research on that, and there's a few ways around the Clean Air Act.
I mean, I have a tent behind my place, so that's how I beat that. I mean, I'm in a tent. It's got open sides, whatever. Where is the Clean Air Act now?
Well, you can get a hookah / smoking lounge cigar bar license. Or if you have a business that has 3 employees or less, including the owners, you're exempt from the Clean Air Act.
Yeah, that's perfect for me because that's me and my wife, and that's it. We're the only employees, really. Everyone else is volunteers. So,
well, the question becomes like those, and if you look at the definition of those lounges, and typically it's for any municipality, but even in Aurora, if you look at those definitions, those are smoking lounges.
Yep, okay? It doesn't differentiate.
It doesn't say it's a tobacco smoking lounge or it's a cigar smoking lounge or, like there's certain products that you can smoke or you can't smoke. So
now that we're here in this state and that is legal.
Yeah, that it's legal, then there should be no reason why you can't facilitate a smoking lounge.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that when I went to the city of Aurora and planning and I was smelling the way I did, they knew what kind of smoking I was intending, and they didn't bring that up at all.
Nice.
They just said it's just called a smoking lounge. You don't have to differentiate everything.
Right. So and that's like, especially when you see hookah lounges and stuff, you're just like, wait a minute, this is getting ridiculous. Like, so we can smoke nasty chemicals, put on
sheesh,
tobacco.
whatever the heck they got in that stuff, man.
But
It's
you can't
crazy.
smoke some healthy herb. That's kind of wacky. But I mean, that is the way this industry is going, though. As far as like it seems, the people who aren't really deep into it look at it from that sort of side, that hookah bar, nasty smelling vape pens, and all that crap. That's kind of where the direction is going in a way, as far as to keep it sort of kosher in most people's mind. Once it gets too much where it should be in the true cannabis sort of world, once it's raw and it's just real product, that's what kind of scares them. They like, you know what I mean? They like, they're so kind of, you getting used to the fluffy side of it all almost, but not the real. I mean, a torch. Once you pull a torch out, that just freaks everyone out. It's
Yeah,
like,
I agree. It does.
the torch.
No doubt about it.
That's why I like those temp temples and stuff.
Yeah,
Those
the
things are
e-nails,
cool.
e-nails will definitely mellow everybody out when they don't
Yeah.
see the people.
It's
Just,
like a vaporizer at that point. It doesn't have the oh my god effect.
yeah, well, like it's like when you pull out a volcano and you got like a older couple there have never smoked. It's kind of like, ooh, look at that, balloon's filling up, and then you give it to them and it's no big deal. That's like the most mellow way anybody could ever smoke, and you know what I mean. But then you do the opposite where you're like red hot glowing embers, and
Drug
then you're
machine.
like, they just
Don't drop the torch, man.
and I had a lady from ABC News yesterday interviewing us, and she said that she would kill herself if she used the torch. I told her, I was like, I really doubt you're going to kill yourself.
Yeah,
I mean,
she won't die.
you'd be the first person ever to death by torch from your own hand.
That
You know
would
what I mean?
hurt.
Like somebody else could have killed you with a torch, but I don't think you could actually pull it off. You'd be hurt pretty fast.
Yeah, your brain won't allow that.
I don't think you'd be like, pain, bad, not good.
Well, and I think it's a lot like vaporizers. I mean, I know when the vaporizer market really started taking hold, like it was a heat gun with an oversized bowl, and you put it on a low setting and stuck it in there and
Sure.
sucked. And that certainly has evolved into, say, the volcano, which has a heat source, blows it out, looks all nice and neat, etc. And I'm sure it's a matter of tripping through those products. That it's not like there's not a new one coming on the market every other day.
hour on the hour.
Yeah,
It's like-
exactly. So it's definitely things are going to pan out in those lines alone. Because most people, it's just like anything else. Like even if you know people that smoke cigarettes, you rarely know somebody who rolls up their own.
Right, unless you live in Europe. In Europe, it's all everybody does that.
Andy
In
does.
Europe.
Yeah. Well, it's very limited.
Yeah, no, and it's I mean, that's what also people like. Obviously, convenience is also where a lot of people think they get nervous about people growing weed, or it's like, listen, really, it takes a special person to even want to take the time and energy to grow the weed and deal with it. Most people are just convenience orientated. They want to be able to pick it up, grab it, do it, done, and we're going to get more and more into that realm, and the growers will be. Because of the fact that there's these big super gardens that are going on, then home growers become less and less. Obviously, the ones that can't afford to buy those super gardens because they're ridiculously priced, it'll all balance out. But it is interesting to see, like some states are not even allowing, like in Washington, they're not going to allow you to do home growing, which is ridiculous. I mean, that to me is like taking away.
They got a lot of dumb
fun.
rules. Like when you get out of the grow, it goes into the processing area. And after it leaves there, it cannot be touched. So it has to be put in a package that when you go to the store, you will not be able to look or smell other than look at that bag.
Yeah.
You can't open it or nothing. It's
Right.
crazy.
Yeah. No, and that's how we shop. It's almost like, going to a supermarket and not being like I hate Safeway because they always package everything, and every vegetable is covered, and you're like, I can't even get in there half the time. So for me, that's part of the shopping experience is to be able to.
Sure.
So then it's saying you're not even allowed to have anything in the counter.
Exactly. Our buddy is opening up a store up in Washington State,
Mm-hmm.
and he's been just calling us, telling us all the lane.
What about the concentrate? I
regulations.
remember there was a concentrate law where they had to add some fish oil or something to the concentrate so you couldn't smoke
He
it.
said something about that, so I'm not sure exactly what.
Yeah, I mean, it's
That's
not
ridiculous.
It's not far off. It's pretty accurate.
It's something like that,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's not a fun place to be.
No, that sounds really rough. So I mean, we gotta enjoy where we are and what we're
Yeah.
able to do.
As bad as people bitch and moan about the laws here, I mean, I don't have any fish oil on my dabs.
Well, and that's the thing. I think realistically, from a marketplace, you're going to have some huge gardens emerge. Which are going to be your equivalent to Coors or Budweiser.
Sure.
You're going to have a lot of micro grows. Which are going to concentrate on a few lines and do it really well. And
Thank
I
God.
think at some point
They got the perfect models here too. I mean, this whole state is based on
Well,
microbreweries and mega
Sure.
breweries.
And the thing that I see, in my opinion, like the dispensary model you walk into now, okay, is your club model. That's going to be your bar model. Look, touch, feel, smell, squeeze, put it in my bowl. I'll buy a gram right now. I'll smoke it here right now.
You think we'll see that?
Yeah, that's
We
where,
have to at some point.
It will. It'll go there eventually because it's regulated like alcohol for one. So if somebody's going to push back on that eventually. B, once the tax money is realized, it's just like everything else, Blake. When I opened in 09, everybody was telling me I was going to jail. By mid-10, working into 11, everybody was, yeah,
cool.
They're popping up on every corner, tax money, da-da-da-da-da, and everything's. So the mindset is changing rapidly. And and it could be someplace like Netherlands. Like there's not anywhere that says that you can't do it in the state of Colorado. It can be done. It can be done on a private basis even if you want. It just has to be modeled correctly.
Worded correctly?
Yeah, I mean, it's all laws, it's all structures, but you get one municipality that will embrace it, okay, and that will let you do your thing and lawyer it up and start charging over the counter, and they start seeing a tax revenue windfall, then people around them will start seeing the same thing. There's a whole nother stream of revenue around cannabis that they can tap into.
And that's what it's all about.
And that's what it's about. It's not about really who wants it legal and doesn't. It's about how much money it'll make and who's getting it.
It's just like when I went into the city and was talking to him about the smoking lounge licenses. She was like, well, for example, there's a hookah lounge here in Aurora already, and like a lot of them do table service, so you're not even really selling packaged tobacco. You're basically table servicing them sheesh. Mm-hmm. They give you $15 or $20 a person or whatever, or table, and then you just hook them up with whatever they need to burn at that time. So, I mean, it could go a couple different ways as far as a bar style, Mm-hmm. I mean, because, the way we talked with Rob Corey that day, and I said, well, I can legally go to anybody's party and smoke as much weed or as much hash as I want to. And if the dude at the party thinks I'm cool and he gives me money for coming to his party, that shouldn't matter.
Now, the analogy was that Norm here
clown.
would dress up like a clown and hand out all the free joints he wanted.
So you're just hiring a clown then?
Well, and if you know Norm and you see him in
not
clown
that much
outfit,
of a stretch.
It's quite illustrating.
You want to throw money at him like that. Make it rain.
And that was the analogy, because I was like, well, people hire clowns every day for parties, right? And I said, well, if weed's legal here, that clown could smoke as much weed as he wanted with everybody, right?
That's right.
So
That's great outside the box thinking. That's great.
But that's also the funny thing too, is like it doesn't really, I mean, that's the whole thing about this industry is we've always had to, grind our gears a little bit and figure it out. Like, oh, really? They're not going to let us do that? Okay, we'll do that. And boom, 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 boom. And just, it always is like that. And it's always going to be like that. So, and even the funny thing is we, as fast as you can think of the idea, someone else is doing
Putting
it.
it into motion.
Yeah, you just go like, oh, look on Facebook. Oh, they just did what I thought. Why would they do that? That's so stupid. I just thought it. I didn't think I was going to do it. You know what I mean? Because the consequences on a lot of those things are, there is somebody else out there who's looking at it like and not happy about the fact that it's there. Is that Mitch? No.
It's no different than the infused beer that was going around for a while. I know Bike scored some. How was that infused beer?
from a what?
You know what? It tasted like a good microbrew.
Nice.
And I could barely taste any weed in it.
That's usually the case.
Not something I'd drink a six-pack of, but I wouldn't drink a six-pack of anything.
It's kind of flat, though. It's kind of flat. That's the biggest problem with all those
You know
little
what?
things.
I remember it had a head on it.
Yeah.
That I probably would
or
have
too much head. That's the other problem. Like,
Sure.
I think it just like foams out the whole thing. You're like, really?
The head went away fast, but
Yeah, that's usually that's the
and that was a collective. That was a lot like Blue Mountains. It was a lot like the Lazy Lions.
Yeah.
And some of the Speakeasy kind of.
those guys got shut down on some other stuff. Though the guy running it had some extra bullshit going on where he had a warrant or something.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. But I mean, he got a contact by the police for whatever reason, and then it went all downhill from there.
Yeah.
So and that's the thing.
And they never came back, did they?
No.
No. Their website said we'll be back soon. That's a year ago.
Not that I'm aware
You
of.
talking about Ed?
Yeah, yeah. So that whole thing went down, and then and then the Lazy Lion.
That ended right away.
Well, they had the authorities in there, like they were going to shut it down. They made a phone call to the attorney, which happened to be Rob Corey. Rob said it's all good, it's all straight, it's all papered, it's legal.
Course.
They walked back out the door, and they never came back. And so they've been operating up there with impunity since that. So you've already had at least some, authoritative action on a collective of sorts, and basically
Wasn't there a place down south right a year ago when it happened that wanted to be the first club, and the landlord came in?
The White Horse.
Thank you.
Is that what it was?
That's what I was
White
thinking
Horse?
of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the problem was that it was like a classic where it was the year we did it at our Club 64 too. Everybody just wanted to be first. That
Sure,
was
that's what it was.
Jump out the door.
whoever's the first, and we had Rob also. That's the only reason I did it. I was like, so Rob Corey wants to hold an event? No problem. As long as he's standing at the front door when they roll in, that's all I care about, because that's what you need,
That's what we keep saying.
Yeah, exactly.
And in general, though, it worked out, no problems. We didn't have any problems. We had tons of, that was like the most viral stuff, because, it was like there's maybe like 60 people, 70 people, and about 20 film crews. So they were like, three people for every film crew. So like, all right, what are we doing? Banging off each other, trying to get a shot. But
and the minute you broke out a bong, they were on you.
Yeah. And that was the funny part, where you saw like this is kind of funny because it's not that exciting, and you knew that it was like gonna have a really short-lived. Even the other day, I saw a thing about create like the best jobs in the world or something like that, and they were showing all these things. And one of the jobs, because it was flashing really fast, obviously was growing weed, and it was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like now, shows that are showing cool jobs actually show guys growing weed, but then when they showed everything else, it was like skydiving and all this crazy stuff. I was like, well, that all looks way more exciting than that garden growing. Because I was like, the guys in the garden, I'm like, grinding away in the garden. That's not really as exciting as it sounds. It is. It's beautiful to do, but when you're working for somebody else in a big garden, it's kind of like, wow, this is actual work.
It's a job.
This is a major job, and there's like, and it never stops either. So in a way, it's cool to see getting it so mainstream now that we're like going to be. Speaking of jobs, job fair is coming up too. You heard about that, right?
Just recently.
Oh, is that tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the first cannabis job fair.
Awesome idea, I think, just because
Speaking of firsts,
I'll be there.
Yeah, and where's it at? Where's it going to be held at?
It's downtown. I know that. I don't have the
somewhere
exact address off the top of my
downtown. You
head.
can get.
what are you doing there, Jed? Are you hiring?
No, in fact, I'm looking for employment. I prefer marketing, sales, packaging. That's kind of my arena. But I'm finishing up my litigation over at my former dispensary, Altitude Wellness Center. So that's coming to an end, and so I'm looking for new opportunities out there. So I'll be out there harassing some people and promoting Bong-A-Thon, etc.
They didn't put the address out there for the job fair because they didn't want the event to get shut down.
Good idea. Yeah, exactly. No jobs.
Smoking lounge at the job fair.
Well, the thing is, it's the amount of work that's involved and the amount of jobs that can be created. It like in cannabis, it's a lot. With hemp, when that kicks in, we're talking like tens of thousands of jobs overnight. Because there's going to be processing, there's going to be so many aspects going down the line. The farming alone, and the interesting part will be, I wonder if any white people will actually go out and farm this, or if we're just going to bring in immigrants. Are we going to actually really turn this into an American thing, which we should? Well, it would be great if people actually got off their ass for once and did some real farming instead of like just bringing in migrant workers and being like, hey,
I know a farmer that's got 400 acres and is willing to grow hemp. Yeah. And so the question becomes where's he going to do with it? What's the processing? What do we do with it?
Well, that's the idea is right now, what I think is, what I see aligning, because I'm part of some of them, is we're all trying to get together. First of all, we get to get together the money for the seed stock. And that's one of the things we were talking about earlier. Like, it takes 30 pounds per acre. So, for instance, on year 400, that's 12,000 pounds of seeds. Quite a lot. That's a fair amount of seed.
That was exactly the estimate Ryan gave me.
There you go. So imagine when you have, I have another guy down south, he has 75,000 acres. So that's 2.5 million pounds of seeds, which we estimated is about 150 tractor-trailer trucks loaded with seed coming in, you know what I mean? So imagine trying to get that volume of seed into this state now via airplane. Yeah, via plane, of course, because we're not going to have time to put it on a boat. So that means we're flying over 150 tractor-trailer trucks. You know how much money that is? That's like, woo! We're talking serious stuff. So in a sense, but once those crops go in, we know that we have just created X amount of jobs. We've also created, like down in Springfield, where Ryan's at, 60 miles away is a ethanol plant that went out of business when, built it, couldn't sustain, boom, went out of business. So there's one there, and there's another one 60 miles in the other direction. So technically there's two ethanol plants and all this acreage just sitting there So once we do get it rolling, it's going to turn into such an industry that it's going to actually. So then you say like, okay, now an ethanol plant's going to open up. They're going to hire a bunch of people. They're going to bring in professionals, and there's so many energy people down. Every time I drive in those areas, all I see is trucks driving around with drills on the back. That's all I see. Like, there's no people out there. There's just prospectors and people going out looking for oil and tapping in for stuff. You're just like, they're all out there hunting. You know what I mean? So in a way, just to bring that to that community, it's going to be epic, you know?
What have I seen recently about you can sign up to grow up to 10 acres of hemp?
Yeah. Well, 10 acres is the R&D plot, and that's like
what can you do with that?
Nothing really. That isn't. It sounds cool because it's 10 acres. What can you do? You can do shit with that. You know, really, what you want to do. And the crazy part is
hemp grow.
You can watch hemp grow. You can process, look at the results, compare notes, but you can't make any product from it. You can't put it on the market
because it's R&D.
Because it's R&D. But they're also, the interesting part is you don't have as tight of THC restrictions though, because you're doing R&D. So you're allowed to flex up to about 1%, which and then that way you're still, whatever you come up with has to be 0.3. So you can do all the experimenting with these other strains to try to find something.
But it's just for the numbers.
Yep, and it's just for the numbers, and everything has to be destroyed. So that's not as exciting as it sounds.
Now, is it just because it's $1 an acre? Is that what it was for the R&D?
R&D is $1 an acre and $200 for the
permit.
I think it was actually $5 an acre because it was only 10 acres. But the other one was $1 an acre, and it was $100 for the license, and that's unlimited. So you could have it. Say if you have 75,000 acres, you pay them $75,000. You grow this. You know, not bad for $1 an acre is not a bad tax to pay in.
No, when you can sell it after. Sure.
And then you have to. The key is you have to, now this is where your farmer comes into effect. You have to have a contract with a processing plant to be able to grow the hemp. So there is a catch-22 going on right now where all these people are like, well, I want to do it. Well, they're not going to let you do it without where you're going to put this stuff. So what you're going to have to do now, that's what right now the idea is for all the people building the factories or putting the factories in place. The key would be to get all of these contracts with all these farmers. That way, now it's like pretty obvious what you're going to do. I'm going to build a factory. They have 10,000 acres. I'm supplying the seeds to them, and they're going to give it back to me. So it's going to have to be like that because it needs to be a closed loop also, where they can sort of see what otherwise, like, what is going on with this stuff.
Well, what is wrong with just growing it and not having a plan or doing it yourself?
I mean, I think it's because they're probably concerned about they can't keep up with every single person, and of course it would all be cannabis because you're so stupid. You're going to grow a big patch right in the middle of your hemp. It's going to be all seeded out and horrible. We're going to be back to selling brick mexi out of here, Back to the brick mixie again.
So what is the best way? Okay, so let's say my friend's got the 400 acres. Okay, he needs a contract. Okay,
first he needs a permit. So
exactly. So get the permit, but then he needs the contract with the processor. Okay?
Right.
So what's the easiest way for me to jump in as a processor? Press an oil.
Probably that would be the easiest, or because the different processes can be broken down into, and the really cool part about hemp is that we've dialed it up now. You don't have to build a huge factory. What you can literally do is get processing equipment and bring it to the field, and turn that into the processing. So you could do on-site processing, which would be probably the best on the smaller scale. Guy like 400 acres, he could do that. Whereas if you have thousands of acres, then it is better to take it somewhere because there's so much to do. It would slow everybody down. But technically, you could take that small processing. They have for making hemp herds would be the easiest for making the hempcrete because it's the least amount of processing. Or just getting seed stock is really the key right now. And so getting a seed combine basically, which what it does is it comes in at the top and takes all those tops and kind of brings those back and then sorts them, and then the stems are left about 3 feet tall, and then because seed is the most
value
right now, and it's also the easiest for you to work with and also to work with because it's each seed is its own little seed. It's all done. You don't have to whereas with the herds, they break all up, and now you got to get these really lightweight things, and the fiber, it's very expensive to take the fiber off. So by the time you're taking the fiber off, now you have this fiber that needs to go to a factory, whereas the seeds, you could just sit on those. They could, sell them next year to the next farmers. You could just get that one guy with 400 acres can produce about 2,000 acres maybe worth of seed right off the bat, just on the first round. It's about 5-to-1 is the ratio.
5-to-1. Okay,
Yeah.
these are good to know because I'm trying to soak up these numbers as we're going along.
But technically that can even go higher because that's just like a real baseline, and obviously some varieties produce a lot more, and then you can get more volume.
Now, can the farmer own the processing then? Can he just start the processing company and contract
sure.
to himself?
Sure, of course. I mean, that's all. That's the cool part is that we're in that sort of zone right now. Like in Amsterdam, for instance, when the coffee shops opened up, they didn't have there was just like just do it kind of thing. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where we are with this thing. Is like there is things you need to jump through, hoops and stuff, but they're just general, normal ag procedures that you'd have to do anyway. Like,
Sure.
You'd have to go to, if you're going to be a seed sorter, you're going to have to go get a seed sorting license, and there's different levels of that. And if you're going to be a processor, you need to get a processing license. And it's just like, it's a learning curve for all of us. We're like, really? I didn't know you had to do that. Okay, well, whatever. And they're because it's ag, the prices are always really good because it's not like they now that it's turned into that, it's not all of a sudden cannabis ag.
Yeah.
It's just ag. So then all of a sudden it's like, oh, like the $1 an acre. If they were to rewrite it right now strictly for hemp, they'd be like, well, how much can we make off these hemp guys? Let's charge them $5 an acre. You know what I mean? And I'm surprised they didn't do that because then that's literally 5 times the profit margin that but they didn't, which is cool. They're actually turning it into a normal commodity. That's kind of awesome.
Yeah, and the windfall for textiles and stuff is phenomenal.
They kind of did the same thing down in Pueblo for the cannabis part, for the weed part, because I bought 35 acres down there and somebody's leasing part of it to grow a commercial grow, and an outdoor commercial grow is 25 cents a square foot, and a greenhouse grow is 50 cents a square foot to get your license. And then they thought about that and said, well, that ends up to be a really lot of money, so then they put a cap on it at $15,000 because they started doing the math and realized, well, we've put out way too much, because that's a lot of money for that.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's it's cool that they don't gouge us on every single angle. You know what I mean? Like, come, let us do something like a normal, like anybody else. You know what I mean? For once, just like the banking thing last time. Like they decided they're going to let you do banking, but they're going to charge you $1,000 a month to open an account if you are a dispensary. Right? Did you hear about that?
And that's
I hadn't heard that yet.
I don't know if you read that memo, but that was as good as the Ogden memo. Back in the day, I mean, it was basically, go ahead and do it. If they're licensed, you can do it. Oh, if we find anything criminal, we're going to prosecute, we're going to take, and too bad, we don't care. And the bankers just laughed that one off. I mean, they were like, psh.
Yeah. And it's also like, it's like if you say you got a friend who's in jail and they want to post bond and it's a crazy number, you know what I mean? Like I know somebody who had $2 million, so you have to come up with $200,000. All his friends have the money. None of them can pay because they don't want to be, because you're going to be screwed. They're going to go like, where'd you get this money? Where did
this come from?
And so nobody can help him out because of that. You know what I mean? And that's the classic situation. It's like, oh, sure, go ahead. It's like when you get that letter in the mail that says, we have a package waiting for you down at the come on down and pick it up. And if you really are that dumb, you're going to go down and pick it up. You're going to definitely get pulled in and handcuffed. It's like, come on, guys. So they love that. Or the classic where they would announce like, you want a TV and then you come and then, child support. Like round them up. They get like 10 guys at once. They all want a TV. They all come down to get their collection, their TV, and all of a sudden there's a cop.
Funny.
They've done things like that.
Sure.
Yeah. I won a trip to Amsterdam in 2000, and I thought for sure someone was trying to put me in jail.
The most paranoid trip ever.
Right?
Come with me. Yeah, no, it is like walking through a minefield sometimes in this industry because you're, somebody always but then, you just hope someone else gets blown up in front of you, I guess. And then you just don't walk that way. Don't walk that way. Let's go this way.
It's literally like war,
It has.
You have a destination, you're going there, you got all your troopers with you in battle. And
yeah. Well, it's always been called,
cases.
When they call it a war on drugs, we took it, obviously we all had to take that a little seriously. So they put us in a mindset, and now it's hard to get out of that mindset because same as like the first time you went to Amsterdam, you probably had the same thing where it was just like, this is weird because my senses, my spidey senses are not working. Everything is weird, like normally I'd have it figured out. Like over there, you got to worry more about not even worry about it, but you deal with the street dealers over there more, and they're the ones trying to rip you off. The coffee shops, they indirectly rip you off because they don't understand there's a lot of their quality sucks. And some of them are switching, of course, strains. And we have one strain, we call it 19 strains. That's obvious, but that's just because of lack of knowledge or whatever. But for the most part, it's pretty safe, and then you get people over there that are so nervous that everyone's trying to rip them off, you know what I mean? And it's just like, yeah, some of them are, I guarantee you. There's never a chance where they're not out there to rip you off a little bit, but it's not as bad as they may think. Like everyone thinks that like there's a special menu for the tourists and there's a special menu for the locals, and it's like they're not that well planned out, you know what I mean? It's not that they're not out to get you that bad.
Well, I know it's just like anything else. You get in a touristy location, and the first thing I noticed, we got off the plane. I was like, take us to the closest coffee shop. Like, we just want some weed.
Yeah.
And the closest coffee shop had some, very mediocre weed. It's probably paid off by the taxi driver and the whole 9 yards. You know what I mean? So it's just like anything else. When you got there, you had to go hunt for it.
Sure.
And when you did find it, the fire, it was out there. You had to find it. But
usually probably a haze.
It was the same price.
It's always a good haze or something.
Same price you're paying stateside. You know what I mean? So.
Well, it was different. When I first went out there, it was about 6 guilders a gram. So it's $3 a gram when I first got out there. So that was good. Those were good prices. And when people came there, they were like, "Whoa, wait a minute, converting what do you got? I'll take it all." You know what I mean? They were just ready to buy it all. Now it's about 17 euros a gram, 14 to 17. So that's a big difference. You know what I mean? Like, whoa, that changed. Everything there flip flopped. Like, that's why, when I first moved there, it was awesome. I could live off of plastic bottles that I'd bring back. I'd bring those back, get $1 a piece. Be like, dude, I'm on a perfect circular city. I'd bring back, I'd cruise around, all the tourists would throw them away. I'd grab 20 of those, bring them in. I was like, that's $20 from 20 plastic bottles. That's not even like carrying like 200,000 cans to get like $8 or something like that. So they had such an interesting system of just kind of like everything was very easy to, beers were $1 or not even a guilder. So they were 50 cents for beers. I was like, this is it. I'm in heaven. 50-cent beers, $3 a gram for weed. Boom, you know what I mean? And then my house was 190 guilders, which was like $90 a month for my apartment, which had 2 floors, and I had like a grow room up on the top, and it was just like, this is ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense that I can get away
leaving.
And now I think when I left, I paid 2,000 euros, so that's about $2,200 for an apartment. And then then come over here, and I'm like, I'm getting a house, and I don't care. And to get so much more for your money that it was just like, wow, this is great. Finally,
it really did flip, didn't it?
Oh my God, it flipped so hard. And now the funny part is what it used to be that the Americans were the ones who are the big seed buyers. So that's where, it was very easy for us to accommodate them. They'd come over, get high, buy some seeds. Everybody was happy. Now those people are like the poorest people, and they come over. They're all like looking like now the Russians that come in.
Oh yeah,
they spend the money like the Americans used to. Japanese, they used to spend money. They don't have no money. They're broke as hell. So they're broke. Americans are broke. Russians are rich. It's kind of a weird. It's everything again flip flopped. So whenever we get Russian customers in our shop over there now they're the ones you want to take care of, because they live in a good place for our clothing. Plus and they're actually the biggest seed buyers in the world are the Russians.
I've heard that.
Right now, the biggest in the world. And I mean, it's crazy because you always had this thing in your mind, like, they can't afford that, it's the other way around. We can't afford what they can afford now.
Sure.
You know what I mean? They've pulled it together.
More billionaires than any country, Russia.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously there's a very high, margin going on there. It's not like everybody's rich, but the ones that can travel to Amsterdam have the money to spend. You know what I mean? So
Is there any legal cannabis?
In Russia, not really, but it is so big, and so I mean, there is areas, that are growing just massive. Like the Albanians that are on the border of Russia and stuff, they are the known growers of the region. Let's say, So and then you have, but there's like some of the biggest forests of cannabis basically growing out there because no one's really maintaining them, and it's just a matter of. Who knows where it all goes? I don't have no idea. It's like it's strange because it's such an unknown, sort of link to us. I mean, we always see them do is pounding vodkas all the time. I don't really think of Russians as big stoners, but obviously they must be if they're buying all the seed and doing something with it.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting too. We always talked about like North Korea is like huge on cannabis. I mean, I don't know if you know that, but everywhere it grows everywhere there.
Really?
People grow it in their windowsills. Like it's just normal because it's a medicine for them because they work so hard that's one of the vices that they've given them is like, yeah, you can smoke cannabis, of course. It keeps everybody sort of mellow and which is pretty interesting because none of us know that because we're not allowed to go there. And when you figure out that they're actually, it was never taken away from them. They were always normal for them. So kind of funny.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
Dyslexia. Now I know the address for real. I love when I always flip numbers. Usually I don't put South Bel Air and somebody ends up on the other side of town and they're like, where am I? I'm like, so at least you made it to this side. Welcome, Mitch.
What up, Mitch?
Hey guys, what's going on? I gotta find a mic.
So, how much time we got? Oh yeah, cool. We got another half hour, so 40 minutes. Nice. We'll let you in a second, Mitch. I know you got so much to talk about, right?
So much stuff.
So much stuff. Yeah, no, it's interesting to see how these other countries have been dealing with this for so long, and then maybe none of us are even aware of it. And then, except for like Uruguay. Now everybody knows you can go to Uruguay and smoke, but who ever thought of Uruguay 2 years ago? You're the last place on the planet you would have ever thought, like, oh yeah, for sure, Uruguay is
It's not going to be open to tourists, though. It's just going to be locals that have access to that. I mean, at face value.
Yeah, it would be pretty unwise as a country that just blew up all over the world and everybody wants to go to then shut the door on everybody and say, by the way, you're not going to get any.
Well, Mayor Hancock in Denver seems like it's good policy, so you never know what's really going on.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, it's definitely not they're not the wisest when it comes to sometimes those major choices. But I think that I can imagine that it'll be pretty relaxed once you're there.
Once I see no one's blowing up and dying. And
yeah, well, they're not doing too much wax down there. It's not a huge.
I wasn't even thinking that direction. It's just as far as side effects in general that people think.
Humans just blowing up like
we
randomly.
smoked some weed and died.
The marijuana zombies that are going to be stalking the streets.
The 45 people that died here on the 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one, right? So, yeah, no, it's been a pretty tumultuous year. We're getting to the point where we're now actually sort of seeing the light, I guess, but at the same time, powers that be are definitely not happy with the fact that we're all happy. And I think this year, with it being Easter, is going to be kind of funny because we can really twist on everybody a little bit, get to their heartstrings a bit, because it's like they're not gonna know it until the last second. Like, we've already figured it out. I figured it out a few months ago and was like, that's a joke. That's like cosmically. It's like a cosmic joke almost, in a sense, because technically Easter is one of the last holidays that's based on astrology, and it's based on where the aligning of the planets are at. And most holidays are based by Hallmark and there's how many cards they can sell. You know what I mean? So this is one of the last holidays that's actually like, okay, 2 weeks after this last full moon is the time we're going. You know what I mean? So
after the winter solstice or something, right?
Exactly. So that means that we are astrologically lined up perfect this year. We have 420 on our day, on their day. It's like I have a church 2 doors down from me at the lab, so it's going to be a little bit of
it's going to be a mixed crowd.
I have to be. I mean, I'm already like every other Sunday. I've been pretty respectful to make sure we're not too loud, and I'm doing reggae this year to not ever have the too much. I'm not going to go overkill.
You're not doing Danny the Wild Child?
The day before.
Oh, you're doing bass before.
Yeah, I can't do it on the day. I thought it's like maybe not the greatest message to.
Cool.
So then the next day will be all reggae. My choice of that was the fact that as a kid, Sundays were always about reggae to me. Like, I woke up, smoked a ton of weed on Sunday, and just listened to reggae. That's what I did as a kid. That was my typical Sunday. So I want to kind of keep that idea going. Keep that vibe, exactly.
Doug, our music guy, says we'll have reggae on Friday, I believe, is what he told me the other day.
We're going to have some reggae up there.
So, something no one else has pointed out is that aren't there shows that Snoop is playing at Red Rocks the 19th and 20th, and in between that,
I think he's playing on the 20th only.
Okay,
yeah, he plays the 19th in Seattle.
Oh, well, regardless, that morning there's a church service at Red Rock, so there's going to be shows in between the church service, too. So the ground scores will be immense there. Yeah, they'll be like, oh, what is this? We should leave them like little cross joints everywhere, like roll up about 1,000 cross joints and just leave them everywhere. Here you go. Go for it, ladies. Jesus, look at all those joints.
We could use some ash from the joints.
Yeah, a little ash on the forehead will be good. Yeah. No, it's going to be interesting. So, I mean, that's definitely one of those, as it gets closer and closer, the memes are going to become funnier and funnier because it's like now people are figuring it out. I see the rabbit with the joint, like it's Easter. I've seen all those, and it's like, God, guys, you guys are slow, man. I was thinking about this already 6 months ago. Like, this is going to be crazy. But yeah, as it gets closer, people are going to start to realize the relevance of it all too, though, because nobody celebrates Easter. You know what I mean? Except nobody, like nobody in our generation at least. People go to church. I don't know if that's called celebrating, but they definitely don't go nuts. You know what I mean? Their kids deal with
chase down some Easter eggs. And
the Easter eggs.
Kids, and
that's I mean, and that's exactly
it's not like
where
St. Patrick's Day or anything.
No, St. Patrick's Day we celebrate. I mean, that is like we do celebrate. Sure. Like the one certain holidays we love. You know what I mean?
What we should do is we should just get like everybody to bring a bunch of Easter eggs and put a gram of weed in each one of them, and bring like 28 of them, and we'll go hide them on the Capitol steps.
Deal.
We'll do an Easter egg hunt over there.
A bunch of homeless people just scouring every single bush, you know, to be like, where are they coming? You just have to you have to hide them all, and then you have to put the word out, and then just watch. Then set some cameras up, and just watch the crowds. Kind of, they'd be like, why are these people coming to the Capitol? What are they doing? And start looking through everything and every trash can, and
that would be fantastic.
That could be fun. That would be actually. I like that.
That's like our pot poker game we're gonna have too.
Pot poker.
If it happens, it wasn't us. Put it that way.
Right.
We didn't do it. We just put it out. We put the word. I heard about it.
Anything can happen.
Yeah. Well, I actually had this idea of like a ultimate character, you know, because I mean, not that I'm trying to celebrate it at all, but there is some other validity to 420 too, which is kind of weird. There's a lot of things happened on 420. It's not just
good things.
A lot of bad things and a lot of good things. Yeah. So it's kind of like you could put them all into one crazy character. You know what I mean? It could be like a kind of a Hitler, Columbine / you know what I mean? Well, go for the ultimate with a Pope hat, smoking a joint with an Easter bunny head. I mean, you could go nuts, you know, with that.
I like the concept.
The platform that blew up and dumped all that oil.
That was also 420.
That was 420. Wow.
I know, it's like weird.
It's an Earl reference.
Exactly. I like it. There you go. Was that the Exxon Valdez? Which one? The Valdez?
No, it was the
big one last.
Yeah, the platform
last year that
cap
in the
forever.
Gulf. Yeah, the Gulf
blew up down there.
Yeah. So they're standing on
horizon.
So the character could be standing on an oil platform.
Yeah, sure.
The ultimate evil.
One.
The ultimate evil for other people, not for us.
Right.
He has to be smoking weed to be evil, right? Isn't that the way it is now?
Of course.
Yes. No, it's
We could have him at Dr. Thurston's rehab.
So I was watching the Bong-A-Thon movie the other day.
Oh.
And I think it was a clip on the internet, in fact, and it was you guys
finishing the ounce challenge. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
And I think you guys finished in like
7 or 8,
7 or 8 minutes. Yeah, it was a new record. I know that
with the torch.
A new record. Yeah,
with the torch. Well, and Ponyboy was on there, and Adam. I mean, there's two anchors right there. I mean,
well, it was a combination of the torches and the fact that the other two guys had no idea how to smoke a hookah, so we had to like, right, now stop, now hold it, now you go. It was like a coaching experience, you know. So I'm glad we didn't run out of butane. Otherwise, we would have been lost cause. I'm back on the regular. Like this lighter, forget about it. This one is like
done.
Yeah. I can't even light a regular bowl with that one.
You're not winning a Bong-A-Thon with that one.
No. So what are our dates on the Bong-A-Thon this year? Obviously, it's not until August, but
it's first weekend, 1 and 2. The relevance is invitations will be available on 420.
Nice.
So you must be well connected. We're
going back to its roots. We're going back to the roots now.
Isn't it actually this year Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
Well,
and then leave on Sunday night?
Sure. We always encourage people to come up early if you like.
Yeah, no, it's a trek, so you definitely want to make sure you get the most out of it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And last year was your first experience, right?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Great. Yeah, I'm glad you came up. Because,
and I was telling everybody about the terrain there is so crazy, too. So when you're there, as you're getting closer and closer, you're kind of like, where the hell am I? Is there aliens coming down any minute now? It has a real alien vibe to it because it's...
Well, it's funny because the road keeps getting less and less of a road and less, and then pretty soon you're on this little trail, and you're like, "Am I in the right place?"
Yeah, no, it was a really, really cool thing.
You're there,
and people made fun of that map the first year that I drew, but it got them there, didn't it?
Pretty accurate. And that's the thing. Like it is a private event. This is a private party.
Mention private a few more times. Private event.
Every time you hear that, you got to do a bong hit.
Well, and that's the thing. Like Bong-A-Thon's 31st annual has been going on since '74. When these guys organized this party back in the day, they had to adhere to the same principles because they were getting permits too. And with that private party status, like you weren't allowing the sheriff to roll up in there because it was private party on private land. You had a permit, etc. And so that was typically the deterrent to keep the law out while everybody was doing the Bong-A-Thon.
Sure.
And it typically worked. And when we were in counties like South Park, they didn't particularly care anyway. So it was never really an issue. It was only in places like Larimer County where it became an issue.
And all they really cared about in Park County was were they getting their gift bag.
Exactly.
There you go. I mean, and that's the thing too. I think and probably what you guys had, no major problems until, of course, they decided to make problems for you, but you didn't have any major issues in those years either, right? I mean,
no, it never did, and that's the thing. The Bong-A-Thon was always just a super chill party. There's been some violence linked to it back in the biker days when the hardcore biker guys were running it.
That's the first parties we ever went to.
Yeah, and those were in the mid '90s. Those were some of the first we went to. But once that element kind of passed it on, to Chris Lopez, who picked it up after that, there never really was that hardcore biker element that really solidified. It was during those days. It was still this really illicit hardcore drug party. It might as well have been a heroin-a-thon. And so all the hardcore bikers embraced it, and a lot of the underground people and people come to the party just because they knew that there would be weed there, and sometimes they couldn't score weed at all. And
right.
They knew that weed would be
well,
at the Bong-A-Thon.
Thank God there was weed there for if there was a bunch of people all spun out. It's like the best thing for you to mellow you out is some weed.
So, but yeah, after 95, 96, 97. 98, and then 99, of course, was Bust-A-Thon. That party got rated at 8 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 in the morning. The cops rolled in, so we never actually did any of the competitions that year in 99. And then I held on to the trophy for almost a decade until I opened the dispensary in 09. And then we put the party back on, and I basically contacted all the people that had ever been a part of Bong-A-Thon that I could reach out to, and was like, look, we're putting this thing back on. Here's the dates. Here's your comp tickets. Be there. And they all showed up, man. And so it really does have the look and the feel of Bong-A-Thons of old.
That's what I was saying earlier. That I appreciate that too, because it didn't sell. It just like same character. Because I was saying earlier that my friend Tony from Soccer Mother Seeds, he had his shirt in Amsterdam around 93, or about 90 or something like that when he first met him, and it was it already had holes in it and looked old, and it had the same character on the front. And at that point, because he told me all about it, I definitely was like, wow, that's super cool. And here I was in Amsterdam thinking that this is some cool, like the only cool party in America. It's the only one. It's the only really cool thing going on.
Name another one.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, there's not, and especially not one that's lasted so long. I mean, obviously a hiatus here and there, but still the theme is the same. And it seems like the people definitely, I mean, I didn't feel like, it didn't feel any less authentic probably than it did back in the day.
Just and that was
maybe
really
with a little
important.
less.
I mean, it was really important because for me, if you'd experienced this thing in the last 30 years and you showed up to it and I turned it into the Warped Tour, well, it sure wasn't going to feel like the Bong-A-Thon.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so for me, it was really important to have that feel. I was a Bong-A-Thon champion. I won Bong-A-Thon in 95. I won Bong-A-Thon in 96. I took second in 97 behind Mark Rice, who actually set a new record last year.
Just the little guy.
Yeah, that's Mark Rice, the lung, if you will.
I got a few trophies myself too.
Oh yeah, no, but for me, and it was funny because when we met Sean, the guy that owns the land, and he actually drove us up there, like it was literally less than 10 miles from where I won my first Bong-A-Thon.
That's cool. So it keeps it authentic.
Yeah, it had the same look, the smell, the skyline, everything. So yeah,
storms came in at the same time.
Exactly, the same amount of hail. It was perfect.
Yeah.
And so that's what I try to maintain that as much as possible. Like basically, we just want to put a black tie on it. Now instead of just getting an acrylic trophy or a plastic trophy, you get a really nice high end piece.
Super awesome rigs there last year. I was impressed with them.
High-end
my
artists,
first place trophy's a Darby Holmes piece. Huh?
Yeah, Darby Holmes did a piece that we did for first place.
Yeah, I saw those last year. Actually, it was kind of like I thought that it was one of them where I thought you should have switched them around because it was one that goes second place looked better than first. I was like, damn, that was a really nice one.
And it's funny because when it comes down to like the sections,
you almost have to make them sized so people know that they're worth less.
Right. Well, and it was about the tech too, because like the tech on the first place trophy for the glass blower was way more intense, and from a collector standpoint down the line, like that, even though the second place was much blingier.
It was blingier. I was like, damn, that one looks a little bit more. I was like, whoa, I had more silver in it or something like that. I remember.
Yeah, it was just
same with the year
it was all
before
dichroed out.
when me and Mark took first and second.
Yeah.
those 2 trophies, man, that second place trophy was blingy.
It was pretty sweet, yeah.
So if you want to win the right one at the Bong-A-Thon, go for second place. That's the secret. That's the secret of Bong-A-Thon. Always go for second place.
But yeah, I got some good collabs this year. I'm tying in Nate. We're gonna do a rocket ship and a perk inside the tube, and then we're gonna do Puke and Beagle's gonna put them all together. He's the one that's done the trophies and the hookahs for us for the last few years, and then. Brian Berserker actually does the artwork in the sections. And then, of course, I'll do some marbles to stick on it. I'm a glass blower. I'm not as talented as those guys, but I can hold my own.
You're like Marble Slinger, but you're Marble Sticker.
That's right.
They call me Marble Sticker. You want to bring a chair here? You can share my mic.
I'm reading the Sanjay Gupta thing.
Oh, yeah, we needed to talk about that because we didn't. None of us. Well, he saw it, 10 minutes of it, said it was awesome. That's not really the greatest.
Everyone was talking about it on Facebook.
Talking down on it?
About it. Good.
Oh, about it.
Everyone
Okay.
was like, "This will change." I just checked. Everyone's like, "This will change your life. It's the truth right here."
But But what I want to know is, did he focus at all on the idea of CBD only? Because he's the guy that could convince the world that we can't do CBD only stuff.
I don't know, but I will. I have like his quote here is, "I'm not backing down. I'm doubling down on medical marijuana." So he's like,
I saw that. So that's good. I mean, the thing is, if
serious,
yeah,
or well. I mean, let's all be
as serious as CNN can never be.
Yeah, and I haven't seen it. What I did just now is I read the CNN article, so that's whatever they're pushing. That's the position they're trying to say to the world, like, "Yo, this is," And then his other point in here was that, let me pull it back up. He was like, "I thought it was going to be a lonely position. I didn't take as much heat as I expected, though, legislators." So you see where they're pushing it.
Yeah. No, and it's. I mean, the key though right now is that they don't lose focus on THC-based medicine and try to go strictly CBD because it doesn't work, and that's the problem. If it don't work, we can't use it. So you can't give people false hope.
They did? Yeah.
Good. Because, I mean, that would basically... Because right now what's happening is it's like the people who are making hand over fist cash want to keep it that way, obviously.
Well,
and
that's always
but they don't care about the patients because the reality is they're putting it into products that are so sort of vague and don't have a real like at the trade show I went to recently, they had the really like the nicest booth set up.
Always.
It was always really and all scientific and stuff. And then I looked at the product that they were using. I was like, so what is this? Oh, you're using, so you're getting this RSO? Oh, well, this is garbage. You know what I mean? It was like, you just knew it because
it's like dietary supplements.
Exactly. It's like there is things out there that do work, but there's also a whole lot of things that don't. And the ones that don't definitely outweigh the ones that do.
It's really easy to mass produce the ones that don't compared to the ones that do is the other piece of it.
Right. And that's the thing is like when you use real medicine, that you kind of, one of the things that I told on the show a couple shows ago, I said is like, cannabis doesn't really want to be bottled up too much. It seems to change, and it's sort of like a serpent. It's changing. Like you put it in a bottle and you think you got it all down, and then all of a sudden it doesn't seem like. Occasionally you'll get something where you can just leave it like that, and and it'll stay like that for years on end. D-Money always comes up with the really like stable products, but it's a lot of work, and a lot of times in the end you're de-waxing everything and you're trying to make it all, to get to that point, you have to throw away so much product that most people won't do that because they just want to see the profits. So
it's not necessarily medical.
Just leave it filled with wax. Who cares? So the reality is when you get to make a really pure product, it's not that easy. So it's one of those things where I think if you see it already done in a package ready to go, it can't be right because otherwise we would have done it ourselves and we haven't even gotten there yet. Yeah. And that's because of course, if you have big money, you can do anything, obviously, let's say, but it's understanding that you're medicine to begin with, and without the right product to start with, you're defeating yourself. You know what I mean? Like if you're bringing in Chinese RSO, it's not going to work.
When you have big money, there's I think a tendency to try to make money on every little corner.
Well, it's like vape pens. It's like vape pens in general. Like if you're going to smoke with a vape pen and you have anything with juice in it, I'm not even going to even look at it. I'm just like, whatever, smoke it yourself. If it's got real hash and you put it on a little thing and you heat it up okay, I'll smoke that. But that's not commercially viable for the masses. The juice is, because when the guy who doesn't smoke figures out that it takes only X amount of drops of cannabis oil per X amount of volume of liquid, that's profit, you know what I mean? And that's what they care about. Never going to work, you know what I mean? They put about as much in as a half a dab on a 300 hits. You know what I mean? So you're like, I'm going to separate, one dab into 300 hits. I'm not going to get high. It's not going to work. You know what I mean? That's impossible.
Have you tried the Cranfords, the cannabis
No,
cigarettes?
that's another thing we should talk about.
I've tried those.
Have you seen those?
Have you seen those?
I've heard about them.
And dude's legit. I mean, dude grows fire. The strains are fire, but
The problem is you can't make the...
Well, fundamentally, yeah, the filter, the studies, and that's the thing. The studies came out that the filters cannabinoids more effectively than tar, so that's definitely true. But the other part, and the real part is, they're using like larf and sugar leaf and possibly fan leaf, dude. I busted one open, and there's like definitely like brown stuff in there, like... And I'll tell you what, as an ex-cigarette smoker, I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it in the way I enjoyed a cigarette. It was scratchy on my throat, and like my nose bled the next couple days when I was smoking them hard, just like if I smoke cigarettes. So it definitely
Sounds awesome. Sign me up. I
have to imagine that it's safer than a cigarette, So if you're a cigarette smoker, you're an idiot if you're not switching to Cranfords. I'll say that.
Hey, there you go. And how much will they cost, sir?
Oh, it's $60 for 10 cigs. So you'll cheap. Cut down when you're ready to cut down. It's time to cut down.
I heard there's some dispensaries selling them for $30 as well.
Okay. Well, that's they're selling them probably at cost, to be honest with you. But
it's cool. I mean, the thing is, okay, now
so each one has we figured it out. It's like one bong rip.
Yeah.
Spaced out over whatever 15 minutes you're smoking a thing. So it's a lot like one dab spaced into
it's a similar thing. I mean, that is the key is to really when we show people what we're smoking, like guys who are not in the industry, and they're like, show me what you would do, And of course, then you take the biggest dab you can in front of them, and they're like, their brain melts instead of yours, because they're just like, how does that even possible?
Inconceivable.
And you're like, what are you talking about? Like, I had met this one guy. He was a nuclear physicist. Now he's making hash, right?
Yeah.
I was like, you're a little overqualified for this job. Look just like the Big Lebowski, the guy who just died or whatever, who's the plain Lebowski,
Yeah.
Look just like him. And total Republican. I hung out with him for the day, drove him around, showed him gardens and showed him places and stuff. And then at one point he was asking me to show me how you smoke. And it didn't make any sense to him because he had been making he'd been dosing his vape pens with he even said that's like 7 cartridges in one hit.
Oh, I'm sure he did the math, and he was like, that's an heroic dose.
And I'm like, that's how people smoke, though, and you're going to never make people happy unless you hit them with something that chokes them out a little bit.
Well, they're marketing to different people.
And then you're like, hey, all right. It's just same with the bong hit back in the day. I mean, that was like, as long as you got that little, you got to overdo it a little bit, you know what I mean? That's part of the deal.
Well, and I think you speak to that too. The marketing aspects right now are really unfolding, and I think all of us, particularly in this room, are on the edge, and we're stoners. We like smoking weed, and we want the next weed or dab that's going to get us higher or give us a slightly different effect than the last one we did. But
thank God. I mean, that's one thing about dabs. Thank God for that. Otherwise, we'd probably be bored right now.
You're probably right.
I'll be like,
still weed? I'll tell you what, I'm still a flower guy.
I'd be smoking water hash all day long. And that's what that would be the pinnacle right now. Would be the best.
But someone come in out of state that doesn't smoke weed very much, very rarely, recreational, and you give them a bong hit, even some fine premium cannabis, and some of these people are like spinning and anxious, and it's not necessarily little altitude. Yeah, it's not necessarily the feeling that they want. So I think with respect to that, some of these products,
products out there,
exactly, have a lot of attractiveness to some of those people.
Oh, sure.
But I mean, did you talk about Denver Post thingy yet?
We did, actually.
Because that's the segue there. Damn it, I missed it. But
we did.
That doesn't mean that swag edibles are legit. Just for the record, that doesn't mean swag edibles are okay.
You know how when you did your first dab, it was a step up from a bong hit?
It was like a whole new level.
We've got the next step up from that me and him invented. That's the Jamaican car bong.
There you go.
That's a dab and a bong hit at the same time, and
it's on a Y, and so it's 2 14-millimeter joints. You have the temple on the one side and the bong hit on the other side.
Right.
And I tell you what, it is a completely different buzz than a dab.
I'd expect that, yeah, for sure.
It's like as a kid, I used to do nitrous-assisted bong.
Yeah, the
nitrous. That was my way.
Anybody want a bong?
Those are the ones. Those were the head ringers. Those were my dabs of the day. You know what I mean? I was like inventing dabs in my mind. Like, okay, this is not enough. I need more.
It's not drugsy enough. I need it more drugsy.
So yeah.
So, and I think you're going to have a separation in the market now. I mean, the one thing, if you look like a liquor market, you got everything from like low budget beer to high end cognac. And
I just say even on beer, dude. Like I guess people could buy 3. There are people who buy 3-2 beer. There are people who actually go to the store and buy 3-2 beer.
They're lucky, and they're lucky because they can always get beer at any
24 hours a day. Yeah,
there's people that buy non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah, they're like people. They sell that shit, so
they
can sell shitty weed, I guess. But it better smell and taste great. Don't sell swag, guys.
Yeah, well, but
sell weak weed. That's fine, but don't sell swag.
But it's just like you get into like a Pabst Blue Ribbon or something.
That's kind of swag.
You're
right.
Swaggy,
Well, you know what I found out about PBR, which kind of sucks because it's not that I like PBR, but I like to have it at events and things because I know people like it.
Yeah, people do love
it. It's all GMO. It's all GMO.
And you can't afford to make like organic PBR.
Well, I don't think I want it to be organic, but I don't want it to be organic, but just the non-GMO part of it. Not to be like, just like it's rough, because then you start really thinking about it as like liquefied GMOs. It's got to be worse. It's got to be even worse for you now, so it's like, then, anyway.
Total swag.
But the weird thing
sorry
about
if I bumped anybody out with their PBRs.
You don't have just like the smoke section, like we're all tuned into smoking, dabs, but now you got like this whole like edible
people love the edible
that you can get into as well. That's almost like doubles your market there and expansion and marketability, to all those people, whether you want a mild product or something heavy duty.
Adam, let me ask you, in Amsterdam, like the space shakes, were those big? Like I tried.
No, the problem was the thing about there is they would come and go as far as even the legality of them all.
Oh, really?
Like every so often, because I mean the number one reason people went to the hospital in Amsterdam was because they ate
Wait,
space
you're saying
cake.
like literally the number one reason
Pretty
in the entire
much, yeah.
city
Yeah,
that
pretty much
anyone went to the hospital
ever. Yeah, and it was like the problem was though it was any drugs that anybody took they blamed it on that. So if you took mushrooms, you said you ate space cake. If you had acid, you said you ate space cake. If you did anything you said you had space cake because that was what they had heard. So they pretty much it was like they pick you up, poop, throw you in, pop a Valium, stick you in the room. That's it. That was the deal. I was like, really? Like, just like anywhere, so they give you pharmaceutical drugs to come down off your so-called, but in the end, half those people were on ecstasy or whatever, and they just, couldn't get their mind around telling the cop or the paramedic that, so they would just say space cake. So
yeah.
But the quality there was also so bad as far as there was only like one guy that I knew who was really consistent. When he came in and he kind of did muffins and he was the muffin man and he would always have the same flavors and the same style and but everybody else was kind of like their wife would cook a cake and they'd make it.
It's a lot like the edible industry is in Denver right now. I mean, they're all over the board.
Yeah, and then they would sometimes they'd rock your world and other times they wouldn't. It's just the same. I think that's the one thing about edibles in general is like if you don't decarboxylize your stuff, that's a big difference. If you don't even understand what that means, that's also probably a big difference. You know what I mean? And there's people out there.
The fully homogenization, I mean, that's part of the law. And I know there's lots of products out there that are not fully homogenized. They're just simply dosed.
Sure.
And so, the thing is like even at the dispensary when I was working in there, all the edibles very inconsistent from customer to customer. I mean, you'd have the same customer come in and say, well, the last one didn't work, but the next one rocked my world.
One of those companies is under question right now about having some of their bars that were tested having nothing in them.
Yeah, no, we talked about that earlier. And almost nothing. Like I think it was or zero.
Dude, it was like 0.3 or something.
It was hemp.
It was like an accident. It was an accident.
It was the hemp of edibles.
I caught a case a long time ago for candy bars from some other stuff.
Yeah.
And when I took it to jury trial, and they came out and said the same exact thing. They said the odd thing is some of these candy bars have THC in them, and some of them don't. So it's like you said. It's just because it wasn't homogenized properly and mixed properly.
And that's our boy at Tainted. We know he was on point. We were slinging the shit out of those things.
Yeah.
So Adam's playing with his phone.
I'm playing my phone because I told somebody else the wrong address too.
Dude,
so I don't want to send everybody to the wrong.
There's this like apartment building where like shady people are
switch the
showing
numbers
up,
around.
dude. I was like, were we doing it somewhere else today? Or are we broadcasting?
What was the place like? How's it look over there?
It is not like the sort of place you want to chill. Really,
how's that place I send everybody
like the
to every
police
time?
rolled through,
Did they?
like right behind me, and like. The person walking down the street waved to them, which made me think that like they really appreciated their presence because it wasn't a good place.
Yeah, they're like, "Hey, thanks for coming." Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah,
that's the.
It's all right. We're here now.
That's the inevitable part of coming onto a stoner show. miss.
That's
be
why it's
late.
okay to be late. Yeah,
That's right. I was late to my own show. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so I got to give a 3:15 update to Big Mike, or he's going to cry. We're harvesting in 5 days, boy. So I will be bringing it in say 10 days, 12 days, something. You'll see something soon, but looking super fire. All OGs. A couple weirdos because we threw some seeds in there from a friend of mine. Someone tells you it's Skywalker, and you're like, what is this? Like,
this is just a thing.
I swear to God, Lester Grinspoon, I got like 3 plants. Single calyxes going up. You're like, are you kidding me? Like, did I really? Because somebody I had to these were refugees. My friend, and we had one called. I knew it was going to be bad. It had the name Miley in it. It was Miley Ray or something. I was like, crap! First plant out the door. That one's gone. And then we had a few other ones. He had a Skywalker OG, weird, doesn't look anything like it, and another one. So I'm kind of bummed about those 3. But those were the only plants because I brought them in from all of ours. Pure fire. Pure. Looks awesome. So have you been using have you ever seen the 315s in operation, the ceramic metal halides, the new bulbs?
No, I have not.
They're game changers in if you're depending on your situation. Like if you have high ceiling, big HVAC, just get EPAPs and go for it. You know what I mean? That's the way to do that. But from any kind of power restrictions or any kind of heat issues or any of those things, these things rock because they're like a good 3-foot spread and they're barely any heat, full spectrum, unbelievable smells coming off of them. That's what I really noticed. Like I go into my one room with my old hoods, all vented, everything. Not a lot of big smells coming off.
Running the same exact strains.
Some of them.
Strains, yeah.
Not all exact.
Well, yeah,
a lot
some of the
different-
same
but just
ones, yeah.
even in general, like this room always stinks. This room, at the very end, you know what I mean? Kind of. But it's also because I think that you're creating a much better atmosphere. Like they're actually
less harsh.
Well, they're engaging like actual moisture from the plant and is now circulate. Everything's kind of in circulation. Whereas instead of having like the lights are sucking all the air away from there and the heat,
right?
And now down here you've got a sort of cold, but not the atmosphere you're really looking for. And it doesn't. You don't want it to be hot, but you definitely want it to be fresh. And I think the lights being exposed changes everything. Like it really creates, you're back to a little ecosystem in your room, whereas when you have everything really being like separated, because the thing about vented hoods is that they're only good if they don't leak, right? And most people's, they've taken off their glass so many times, it's all leaking in there anyway. So it doesn't even really, it's still, the smell goes through, it comes out, like every single warehouse here stinks. I drive down every place I go, I'm like, nobody here uses filters, nobody cares, they don't give a shit, everything's just brah, like I drove over from I-25 right over, on 6 actually, that little section right over there where it's just, it reeked. I was like, wow, dude, that smells foul. It was hard.
Something die. You can smell the green solution drift across I-70 all the time.
Yeah, no, it's nuts how people just kind of let it roll here. But I mean, as long as people aren't complaining, I guess it's not a big issue. But I'm not complaining.
Like the dog food factory.
Oh man, I have the pig ear like boiling factory next to my place almost, and they're the ones who make the dog treats or whatever, and they do that like every 2 weeks. They do a big boil, and it's like smells like literally like dead flesh everywhere for miles.
Where are you
just
at
the shop at Larimer.
Down
down there.
okay.
Yeah, and in the whole neighborhood, they've had like 250 complaints. It was on the front page of Westward. No, it just keeps going. It's like, I'm sure if it was the other way around, if they had 250 complaints for smell of weed,
there's no way that the pig ear tax money is anything like the weed tax money.
No, for sure.
And they have nasal police for the weed industry too. That this little machine you stick it on your nose or some crap.
I saw that. That was. I thought it was a joke. I thought
it was fake news.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, that is the biggest.
Dude, I definitely want to buy one of those to smell good weed. Like, imagine like just throwing a nug under there. How it's like. It's like Daredevil smelling weed.
Working it up. I need to do a couple shout outs for some sponsorship. That's how I get paid. And so he gets paid. So we got Way to Grow, our number one sponsor. Shops all over the place. I think anywhere in the state you are, unless you're out in the middle of nowhere, which there's plenty of them too. Colorado Springs has got one. They got one here in South Platte. It's their new shop, 20,000 square feet. Definitely come check them out. They got great deals, and they've been doing this 11 years. and holding it down. I mean, they went through a lot, but they're holding it down.
And if you're in the middle of nowhere, waytogrow.net, I think they have the online store deal. Yeah,
and they do deliveries, and they're definitely stepping their game up in that world too, because that's kind of the now that nobody's scared anymore. It's like, yeah, deliver that stuff. I mean, come on. That's the biggest hassle of growing in general, is going to the grow shop, because I can't go in there without spending $1,000. It just doesn't matter. You're like, you roll in, you're like, I need a new pen, and by the time you're out of there, you got like,
you're like,
look at that. I need one of those. Yeah,
this is meaning to try this.
Exactly. And it's like the only shopping where you just automatically think you're getting paid. You know what I mean? Even though you're spending money, you're like, that'll do this. Doesn't always pan out. I can tell you that for a fact. But in general, definitely Way to Grow. If you need to get any good grow supplies, they're the guys to go to. Also, we have a new sponsor, Incredibles, who somehow ranked at they were not double. They were 1.5 times the dose. So you better get out there and buy those bars right now.
There's a good batch out right now, guys.
There's a really good batch out on the street. They may have to pull back soon, so hopefully they're not. But in general, yeah, they're awesome flavors. I mean, I can't keep up with them now. They actually I knew the 6 in the beginning because those were part of the
all I'm saying, Fireberry.
Fireberry's
all you need to know.
Strawberry Crunch Bar.
Strawberry Crunch Bar, yeah.
Monkey
Monkey Bars, of course.
Mile
Cookies and Cream, that's a new one. Mile Higher.
Older Bar.
What about Mile Higher?
Are they still doing the Peach Dream?
Yep.
That's
and Blueberry joint right there.
Blueberry. Do you work for them, Chris?
And
he's not reading this or anything.
This is all off the top of his head. This is what he ate for breakfast, I think, right here. He's like,
Peanut butter Buddha bar.
Peanut butter Buddha bar. Peanut butter Buddha bar. Right.
It's cool because I kind of get like a fake half ad whenever you give them the ad.
Yeah, that's a fake ad. That was a fake ad right there. I did a jingle.
Their 4th of July with cookies and cream and
oh yeah, with the Pop Rocks cookies. Oh yeah, that was that was awesome. Yeah, no, they're definitely got the market is for fresh flavors and keeping it rolling, because that's the thing, is a lot of people get locked in on one thing. I mean, like, I can't start mentioning negative. I can't advertise for these guys. But anyway, you know who I'm talking about. They come up with maybe a quad or whatever. It's like that's boring. It's like, come on now, let's step the game up a little bit, because people do. I mean, one thing you do notice, I'm sure, as a dispensary owner, is people are pretty quick to want to have every single new. What's the newest thing you got? And then you're like, this. I tried that once and that's it. They want to move on next. Everybody's always looking on the search.
Something fresh.
Boy, remember he made us that 1,000 milligram trophy for one of the competitions up there at the Bong-A-Thon. Oh, it was crazy looking.
I heard that medical can go up to 4,000 milligrams per dose. So I want to see somebody eat that, because that's a pretty big ass dose.
That is a huge dose.
But isn't that weird that they say 100 for recreational and medical 4,000? Like, that's kind of a big difference. You know what I mean? Like, come on, guys. I don't know. It's a huge gap.
The numbers aren't related, and it's not like there's
I think at 4,000, you might as well just like eat a slab or something, right? Just like just chew on a slab and wash it down with a little milk.
You might end up calling 911 no matter how much weed you smoke if you eat that much.
A milkshake.
We should make some like black oil chocolate syrup, so you could just do oil chocolate.
There you go. Yeah. I want to see someone do a 4,000 milligram dose, though, because I'm not. I mean, the thing is, I always think I'm a hardcore when it comes to edibles, but. Nah, I'm not. Look at me. I'm not big enough to be hardcore.
Some of them are brutal. Some of them are pharmaceutical.
Yeah,
dude. Some of them joints. I was high for 36 hours.
Straight narcotic high, though, which you're just like, this is. I mean, I told the story already about his, because he makes, Vinny over there makes the rockingest granola whatever thing, and he gave me one day, and it was like, boom, ate it, doing my thing. A couple hours later, a friend of a friend comes in. And he's like a little Wookiee. He's got his hat all pinned up, and he's like, oh, he's all kind of sweaty. Shakes my hand. About 10 minutes later, I take a dab, and I just completely like lost it, and couldn't remember that I ate his thing, and thought that kid dosed me because he had sweaty hands, and I was all like looking at that kid. I was like, oh man, I think he dosed me with something, right? So I was like, and I never, that never really happens. That happens like once in your life maybe. But so I had to watch this guy for like a half hour and getting all nervous, and then I lost the power of speech. I was like, oh, and then my wife was like nervous because I couldn't talk and kind of in the corner all, and I really was like, I thought I was on so many different things. I was trying to imagine like, I can't even like lift my arm to look up what I could be on, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden I remembered I ate it, and I was like, I started laughing. And then my wife was like, "Why are you laughing?" And then I couldn't stop laughing, so I couldn't tell her why I was laughing. So then she got nervous that I was laughing too much, and that was like it was quite comical, because it was like the classic thing about eating any cannabis is if you can somehow forget it, you're going to get really high. You know what I mean? Like if you do somehow to slip that in there, oh yeah, that's when it nails you, because it's the confusion of not knowing what's going on.
I had a similar experience. The guy brought in a sample of a little carrot cake. He's like, "Oh, you got to eat one of these." Okay, so I was being cordial. I ate it.
Sure.
And went home that night, and by like 7 o'clock, I was wiped out on my couch, drooling out the side of my face, and I didn't realize till I got back into the shop the next day and walked by the edible case, and glanced down and saw him. Was like, "Oh, that's what I ate. That's what fucked me up."
Exactly. No, I mean and it's awesome to catch yourself like that sometimes, because there is a moment of panic when you're losing bodily functions, you know what I mean? You're like, I can't move my arm, and I can't even talk, and what's going on? And then, you start to really get this concern. What I always think this is what I'm going to feel like when I'm old. Like, this is how it's going to, I'm going to start losing bodily, like, oh, there goes the arm,
Hey, back in the
there
day,
goes the drool or whatever.
We cooked 11 pounds of swag one time back in the day and made cookies out of them.
Into butter.
Wow.
And
concentrated down to how many cookies, you think?
Well, it was like less than
a dozen.
11 pounds. It was less than 2 pounds of butter.
Right. Wow.
So and we
simmered
brutal.
it all day.
Yeah.
Like 10, 11 hours, and they were brutal.
They were.
Yeah,
brutal.
no. It's in Amsterdam. There's famous ones that because we have Dave Watson comes to all our parties, and he's the hash legend and he would basically bring these. They were like basically tasted like pure hash balls, like chocolate ball things, burned. I mean, burned, like the resin. When you get a resin burn, when you bite on a little bit of bud that has that certain, some of it's like so sharp, and you're just like, wow, where'd that come from? If you get it in your eye, you're done. You know what I mean? That styly. And these things were like, you'd eat them and people would eat it if they could get it down, because it was pretty hard to get down in the first place, but you would be frozen solid. Like people were just like at my party were like trying to eat something, and I'd see them there and they'd be like just staring off, and they'd be like, well, I can't move. You know what I mean? It was crippling stuff. And he put it over a gram of hash in every one, and it was killer hash. Yeah. So you're talking like just killing people. And he had them just laid out at my thing, and there's kids running around. I'm like, dude, come on now. These are like bombs, dude. I mean, but anybody who was at that party in Amsterdam, it was my birthday party. I think it was every year he brought them, but there was one year that was particular. It was my 33rd, I think, and it just like people who were like really hardcore can't ever remember. They'll never forget that, because they just were like frozen before they even finished it. Some of them, before they swallowed it. It was like, how strong can you make that stuff? But he was like, mad scientist, loving it, and that was his yearly thing to get everybody. So
that's like the Himplemint schnapps. You remember that John used to make?
Yeah, the guy that used to go to the Bong-A-Thon, John, he literally would take a bottle of Himplemint schnapps and he would just put his hash and keef in it all year.
Right, let it
for
soak
a whole year,
and then strain it off, and
and then he'd bring it up there and pass out shots.
$10 a shot or something. And
I mean, you'd take one of those,
with somebody,
and the weed would hit you before the alcohol would.
Right. Yeah, because it carried it in, so nice for you. Up, yeah, we did some Kahlua. We used to have a friend who made Kahlua. He did his own homemade Kahlua. That was pretty rocking too.
Yeah, that was a great.
Because that was a nice. Also,
yeah,
and throw them in some coffees or whatever, and they were just like, oh, so good, such a good combo. Alcohol. That's the other thing is like, of course, it's not legal to put alcohol and mix and sell it. But as far as a homebrew thing, if you ever want to like really get to the point, that's good. That's the way to do it, because as a edible takes sometimes. The thing about me is it takes a long time for something. Like, a lot of times I'll eat it and I won't feel it till the next morning.
I feel like,
and then I'm like, oh, now it's kicking in great. Right now, as I wake up, my eyes are all gritty and tired, and that's kind of like the timing is. And then I think that's when people don't decarboxylize it. So your body has to process all of this stuff and takes so much longer to do.
I think everybody acts differently anyway, because I know that about 20% of the population doesn't get off on them at all.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I have had people tell me that, and then there's always one that gets them, dude. I've never seen anyone who's.
I like to test them on those things.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the ones you want to go like, actually, you may want to try Vinny's.
Yeah. Give this a shot. Try this little cookie.
Yeah,
little sting going down.
It'll sting, exactly. It'll be a stinger, but no, in general, it's probably true, because they just probably can't process it and get off on it really, and maybe that's too bad for them, actually. Cause
Sucks to be them.
Sucks to be you.
Did y'all see on the news somebody dosed all that meat with LSD or something?
That didn't make any sense to me either.
Why does all the news?
How do you
coming
not
of
cook
Florida
out
look
LSD
fake?
anyway? I mean, what did they eat? Raw steak or something? I mean, come on.
Tartare.
Doesn't it cooks off?
No clue. All I know is
Well, they
said-
injected it into it, and it didn't cook off because it was in the inside. But how?
Like seared in, yeah.
Heat destroys it.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't really seem plausible.
It was kind of weird, but you know.
I know, and it was kind of like, okay, now they're what? They're going after LSD now? Like, come on, we're gonna go after some spun out kids on
LSD epidemic in America.
Oh my
Well,
god.
that's just so they know until they can put Deemsters up on the news. It's like the segue to Deemsters.
Don't talk about Deemsters. We don't want to know.
I'm not the one, dude. There's
We-
Netflix.
No, and I mean, that's like the neck. They have to come up with something at least. you know?
Yeah.
Just go after meth, please. Come on. It's like
Yeah,
you know,
like if
it's
you're
like-
looking for something.
we know what the problem is. I mean, that's pretty much the biggest problem we got. So let's just get rid of that. Thank you very much. Done.
Also,
you know.
OxyContin actually
Yep.
not working out as well
Oh,
as intended.
did
for
you hear about the
society.
new versions? Did you hear about the 10 times stronger than
Yeah.
oxys that are
Yeah.
coming out? It's like
I have met
Is that
people.
net-
I have met people who
stronger?
need that.
Is that
They're
necess-
huge junkies.
is that a necessary? Yeah, exactly.
Like I've never met a sick person who needs.
No, and they're
times more oxy
and they're
per
totally
dose.
crushable and snortable, and it's like they didn't do anything to protect anybody. It's like let's just put something on the market that's 10 times as strong and just watch them all go. You know what I mean? That's pretty much what it seems like. And they've even warned. They said, look, people are going to drop like flies because they're not going to know, and they're going to do the same as they normally do, and that's 10 times stronger, and
Yeah.
that's how people die. So I mean, isn't that like the most irresponsible thing?
Maybe that's the plan.
On the market.
That's
That's what
we're
I'm
gonna
saying.
Kill all the junkies.
That's what I'm saying. It
We're
might
just
just
gonna
be a-
kill all the junkies. Put
put
out
it
the
out.
strongest
There you
shit.
go.
They'll all get really high.
But that's what
great.
happened a lot on the East Coast whenever, like, you know, really,
That
like, people had a bunch of crap for so long that somebody brought in something pure, didn't cut it up, now everyone overdoses.
People go
And
to
that-
rehab, come back, hit their old dose.
yeah,
done.
but it's sad. That's a real sad state of affairs when we are actually producing more opiate-based drugs when we have proven that they're killing more people than anything out there as far as drug-related, and at an alarming rate, and at the same time, you know, cannabis is now the alternative. I mean, I love the idea of the gateway drug now becoming the exit drug.
The exit drug.
And that's a cool thing, which I think is going to turn, like if a rehab center would open up and just do killer oil, like just have the best oil, then they would definitely get people off of whatever drugs they're on because it would work so well, so effective, and then all of a sudden there would be the medicinal value of these oils, and then everybody would understand that it's not just about getting blown up. I mean, that's not cool. We're not into that. Like, hey, let's go get blown up.
That's not the point.
That isn't. That's actually not the point of the whole thing. And also, you know, I think from a rehab point of view, that's like they still get their vice. They got to carry their kid around with them. That's like half the deal.
Yeah, the
you know?
ritual and
the whole ritual
rig and all that. It's called a rig, dude. That's the only
I
other
know.
thing that's called a rig.
I know, and that's kind of when my mom just like, you know, that's a really bad name, right? And I'm like, yeah, no, it's a terrible name. She's
It's like when people call weed dope. That bothers me.
yeah, exactly. Smoke some dope out of a rig. Yeah,
Just happen to have an oil reference.
Well, you know, I'm an old man, and we called smoking weed smoking dope
I
in the
know.
70s.
Right,
you know, so.
right.
It predates, I know, but for me, it just like the association.
Yeah.
Is like, yeah, dope's like I don't like dope. Dope's not cool. You know?
Yeah.
And on that note, we're going to have to wrap up the show, Mr. Dopehead. So if you love... No, but we're going to give a quick shout out to also the other sponsor I forgot to do, which was Boulder Wellness, 5420 Arapahoe in Boulder. And I'm going to come and get my pay from those guys. It's all about smoking with them. They have some of the best weed in town. Yeah, so don't worry. I won't forget about the Bong-A-Thon. I think these guys from the Bong-A-Thon probably want a little bit of a shout out.
Make sure it gets.
Might want to mention them. August 2nd. Actually, going to be the 1st and 2nd, right? But we don't know.
First weekend of August.
Yeah, just look-
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Tickets available $420, but only if you know the right person. So that keeps it back to the original Bong-A-Thon mentality, which we love. And I'm sure if you're a real stoner out there here in Colorado, or maybe anywhere in the States, you probably know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. And that's the way to work. And if you need to get for a telephone number that could actually get you maybe even closer to your goal, it would be 720-432-6188. And also bongathon.com. If you got some crazy questions for them or you want to maybe get involved, who knows? Maybe you got something you want to bring there. The theme this year is a lot of spaceships and craziness, I think.
We're still looking for sponsors, too.
Sponsors are always accepted. I'm looking for sponsors, too. So if you really want to sponsor them, you got to sponsor me first. That's the part of the deal.
It's a gateway sponsorship.
Gateway sponsorship through the Adam Dunn Show. Wanted to shout out to my wife, Cece, and my baby, Nick, up there, Blue Mountain. Probably down at the shop, actually, at the moment, so even better. And Hood Lab down at 3354 Larimer. Come on down. We're having sales still. If it snows, which it did the other day, 25% off everything in the store. So if you're out there and you see snowflakes coming down and you want to buy some Hood Lamb, now's the time.
Does that mean you got one of those Kevlar coats hanging up in there right now, too?
It's not snowing out, though.
Yeah, but if it snows, are you going to take it off the shelf?
Maybe. That's a pretty good ticket item there. I might. You never know. But the problem is the one we have, it doesn't fit you,
Yeah, no, I seen it.
I know. It's only a so anybody out there who wants to, I think it's an XL. So if you're an XL looking for a nice $1,250 discount.
When it snows.
$1,250 discount. There you go. Hood Lab, 3354 Larimer. This Saturday we're having Uncontrollable, which is going to be a local sort of thing. It's all drum and bass though, all night. Not all night, but as late as we can go without getting in trouble. And who else? We got anything else? Any other big shout outs out there? San Francisco Hood Lab, of course. Shout out to you guys. Keeping the crazies I'd hate entertained. Big Mike, Flargle, the whole crew out there.
Everybody's out there together?
Oh, it's a big happy family.
I need them to do like a webisode series for me to
it would be good. I think it would be good. There'd be some choking out going on probably at some point. I'm sure. Choke outs. Yeah, we need some of that.
I got to shout out Kind Reviews and
there you go.
Keep an eye out. Yeah, we're doing we got pictures coming up in fucking Penthouse, dude.
I heard about that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I've been
naked. You're gonna be naked?
No, I don't have pictures I took of a party.
All right.
Penthouse wants to write about weed.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I got scared.
Not that big a celebrity.
Anybody you want to shout out there, Bike?
No plugs today.
No plugs, no friends. He's no friend Bike in the corner. Last chance for a shout out from the Bong-A-Thon crew?
Nope, that's it for me.
All right. Well, thanks, guys, and we'll see you all next week.